Welcome. This is a College Genesis, the chief host of the Voice of the College Nation radio show. Um, we're going to have a good show tonight. And the topic is who's to blame for the collapse of South Africa? As we know, South Africa has collapsed. It just fell on its own weight. And I could tell you right now, I was expecting this. I just didn't think it was going to come so soon. I thought at least another 50 years, whatever. I had no idea it was going to collapse this soon. But the question tonight, the conundrum is, who's to blame for it? Are the ANC government to blame, the black majority to blame, or who else are the other forces to blame? But tonight's the answer that I see in my analysis is going to shock you. Okay? And so, therefore, let's get together. Let's talk about this. Like, share, and subscribe. Because when you got a topic like who's to blame about the collapse of South Africa, things are going to get hot tonight. What's going down in Cowland. So stop what you're doing. Send this out on X or Twitter. Send it out on Instagram. Send this out on Facebook. Send this out on whatever platform, whether it's a social media and everything. Just tell a friend that this is where the discussion is at. And I like to hear from some South Africans and some African enthusiasts. Tonight, I'm going to be playing a lot of videos tonight, to make my point. And so this is going to be fair use tonight of videos and illustrations to make my point. And so therefore, one of the points I've always tried to make is I really don't think the Africans on the continent have any concept of what we mean by when we say Pan-Africanism or Black nationalism. It's all rooted in Black identity and Black unity, So there's a video circulating around with some dusty Africans saying that the founders of Pan-Africa believe that whites should be Africans too. Nothing could be further from the truth. Even if they believe that, Yeah, I heard about Dr. Umar's calling them out. That's just, this is sad. That's a really sad situation. Umar got on. That's the whole thing about social media. You can live these double and triple lives and whatnot. You say one thing online, but your real life is anything but. That's what happened to Umar. His real life, not having an apartment, living with his mother that's on Section 8, a whole bunch of stuff went out, the conscious stripper, and all this stuff. The guy's basically all about is a sex maniac or sex fiend. So that's who he is, but he tries to play this a righteous role as an educator and all this stuff like that. That's what he wants to personify. But the reality is he's anything but that. Umar Johnson is just nothing but a pookie with that happened to have a degree. And that's the most dangerous thing in the world, when you give a pookie a degree. A lot of these guys be sitting in jail 10, 15 years, the education paid for. Next thing you know, they come out of jail with glasses on and a kufi on and whatnot, and he got his PhD and something like that, and he's ready to wreak havoc on the community because you can't say anything to him because he got that degree. So that's what's dangerous about the education, too, in the black community. When you get illiterates and freaking fools that get education, that name education, and they go around preying on the community, That's what you have with most of the so-called black leaders. They're nothing but predators, Most of the black educators are predators of the black community. That's the truth, Yeah, oh my gosh, the typical dusty nigger from Philadelphia. Yeah, I know. Like J Mall, those other people like that, you're from Philly, man. You're sus as hell. You're a suspect as hell. You come from Philly. I suspect anybody from Philly, man. You're on that dusty shit, that dusty trife life shit, So, man, I love them to death, man, all my Philly Negroes, but, I can't be taking no advice from them, That's like the dustiest place on the friggin' planet, Philadelphia. But yeah, so we have a good show tonight, a good topic, The topic is who's to blame for the collapse of South Africa. Now, I said this because there's a lot of whites who are doing a victory lap right now. They're going with AfriForum. They're saying, yes, look, the blacks look over there. Let me tell you something. I knew this at a young age, back in 94, 95, when this all went down. I said, something's not right. Something does not smell right about this whole anti-apartheid rainbow country. And same thing that collapsed on Barack Obama's hope and change and all stuff like that just disappeared. Black Lives Matter. It was a whole thing. They got you to believe in Rainbow Nation, blah, blah, blah. We're post-racial and all this. No, that white supremacy stuff is so deep rooted in the white community in South Africa and the psyche of black people. Yeah, you cannot get that. It'll take thousands of years to erase that. So you can't just have one election with a friggin' Negro like Nelson Mandela and say, oh, we reach a personal, we live in a multicultural society and all such stuff like that, you know? So the bottom line is this. We're basically going to talk about what went wrong in South Africa. And the whole thing is this. The black community in South Africa is not completely responsible, you know? We're going to talk about the Asians, the coloreds, the white farmers, the white businessmen, the white bureaucracy, and everything like that. All these forces were there to try to undermine the rule, the majority black rule, and everything, like if there ever was one. The whole thing is the white population that had all the power. You think about it. White people in all the key positions of power, right? That make the country work, the machine. Now, if the machine starts breaking down, the engine, the car will break down. You can't have some parts basically saying, I'm a malfunction when I, so different parts of the white community deliberately was malfunctioning. But it was the farmers not producing enough or overproducing, costing, driving up costs, the railway companies not operating on time deliberately and stuff like that. All these forces came, the energy issues and everything like that. All these things were designed to undermine the state, you know, just like the anti-apartheid used sabotage to basically bring down apartheid. The white minority, when they lost power, they used sabotage and propaganda to bring down the ANC, and they finally succeeded, you know. So now the question is, why don't the white South Africans leave the country if they claim it's so bad? Because they don't claim that. These people want to be a political. Think about it. Of one group of people, a minority group, has it so that they can go outside the country to a foreign power to basically influence something that is by any measure treason. When you take your issues with your grievances you have in the country to a foreign state and have them act on your behalf, that is treason. And then to bring sanctions against your home country and everything, that is treason. Now, Afroformers try to walk that back because they know what they did was treason. Now, if the ANC had any balls, that's what they would do. They would arrest these Afroform people and try them for treason. You know, try them for treason against the state. You know, but the thing is, Mandela and all these other people didn't believe in the power of the state or the allegiance of the state. You know, they spent their whole life undermining the power of the courts, the power of the police and everything. Now it's backfired. Now they can't even use the police, the courts and everything to rein in this insurgency of white terrorists and white nationalists in the country. So all the stuff they did backfired on them, you know. Mandela gets in office, and the first thing he did was strip the police of any power, you know. Imagine if the freaking black police officers had power like the white police officers during apartheid, where they could make arbitrary arrests of suspicion and everything like that, detain people and all stuff like this. Imagine if they were doing that to the white population and stuff like that. That's not happening. Why? Because they agreed that the police, the reason why they weakened the power of the police is because the white people understood that, okay, let's have a government, black people rule, but let's take away their power to, like we had, the absolute power of the police. The police have the power to arrest, the power of habeas corpus. That means the power to arrest you and hold your body, you know, against your will. They took that away from the police in the post-apartheid era. You know, they said it was basically to protect because the police are inherently wrong or whatever like that, and abuse of power. No, it was the fact that they didn't want that same power that they had visited on them with the black majority government. You know, so now the country is like paralyzed. They can't even fight crime anymore because the police really have no power in South Africa. The criminals shoot at the police. The police have absolutely no authority and no power in South Africa, you know, at all. That's a legacy of Nelson Mandela, you know, princess in the ANC. His idea of the people. We got to give rights to the people, man. I'm like, mother F the people, That's where I'm at right now. I'm like, the people only need one thing: is a security, roof, shelter, and food to eat and whatnot, and some basic liberties to get along in the day. That's all the hell the people should be entitled to. Other than that, man, it's like, that's like, you get off in the corner and shut up. You don't know nothing about how to run the country. You can give your opinion, feedback, and all we're gonna do is just make sure that our message goes out there even stronger, so we get you to agree with what you disagree with in the first place. That's what Lee Kuan Yew did. He said, "Oh, people disagree, but we got to do a better job at educating them to get them to agree to see our point of view." But no, what we do is we basically say, "Oh, the people disagree, even though they're wrong with 2 left feet," and we give in to them. People, you want to have a country, right, where you're going to let the white majority have all the wealth, everything, and call it a friggin' fair rainbow country. That's insane. They should have never went for this deal in the first place. They should have never had post-apartheid elections and everything if that's how it was going to be. So they should have basically never started off with it. They started off on the wrong foot in the first place. And most of the wealth is concentrated in a few people. How are you going to run a state, where there's not enough adequate wealth coming in and wealth distribution? You don't have enough people contributing to the tax base. What do you think was going to happen? Of course, the country was going to collapse. What collapse is the fact that you're trying to build a black economy in a black country in a white economy, small white economy. That's what happened. They didn't recognize the fact that you need to build black African infrastructure in South Africa. They were basically like the railways, the banks, the this, whatnot. I said, no, those are the white man's stuff. Now you can take it from them, whatever like that, but don't sit here and act like, the railways and all that stuff like that are all yours, and the mines, the rand and all stuff like that. They should have really changed the currency and integrated a currency with a regional currency with all the black countries around. They didn't do none of that in South Africa. So now, all these years later, now the country is finally collapsed. And what's sad is the AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunities Act, which allows goods to flow through America without any tariffs, right, was sold as something for black countries, poor African countries, to get into the U.S. market, right? But the people who take most advantage of it are the Lebanese, the Chinese, the Afrikaners, and all these other people who use AGOA to get rich. Now, when Donald Trump suspended South Africa from AGOA, it's now AfriForum is going there saying, no, Mr. Trump, we didn't mean for all that. Why? Because they're hypocrites. They were benefiting from AGOA. The white South African businesses have access to the whole entire continent, right? Under the banner of Pan-Africanism, right? Because we got fools out there who think Pan-Africanism also means white businesses on the continent, So this is what we're talking about, Yeah, South Africa is the number one economy, but the thing is, though, South Africa doesn't benefit the black. South Africa, DK, is collapsed. It's collapsed. It's gone. It's collapsed. It's gone. And the bottom line, if that's the number one economy on the continent, that means we are freaking done. We are freaking done. I want to try to find. Let me put to better reference. Let's find some South Africa. Let's see. Let me get the South Africans. Let's see, South African. Let's see, South Africa, AfriForum. Okay.
all across the world, particularly in the United States. And as soon as the Expropriation Act was signed by the president, we all informed them about the facts here in South Africa. So I do hope that we had a massive effect there. I mean, you can't really see everything that happens behind the scenes, but I do think AfriForum had a massive impact.
Okay, so this money, $440 million US in funding for PEPFAR, for South Africans living with HIV, is this the consequence you wanted?
I don't think that's particularly what Trump is talking about here. He's cutting off aid to many countries. He's pretty much disabled US aid in total. I think what he's talking about here is increasing punishment on South Africa, particularly regarding the Expropriation Act. And I mean, this has always been AfriForum's stance, that punish the politicians that push through these destructive policies, not the citizens of the country. That's always been AfriForum's stance. You can go check out all of our press statements on it. And I think what Trump is talking about here is future action rather than action that's already been taken.
But that's not what he said, Ernst. He says he wants to have an investigation. That's fine. He said he's cutting it immediately. He said things are happening to people in South Africa, a certain class of people. I presume he's dog whistling there, in fact, to his supporters. You're playing a very dangerous game here. And isn't the consequence that we've lost $440 million for people living with HIV?
Stephen, you are playing a very dishonest game here by saying that that's the direct result of what AfriForum is doing. Our direct result is getting under the president's attention the Expropriation Act. He was going to cut off aid to dozens of countries all across the world anyway. What he's talking about here is additional measures to combat particularly expropriation without compensation. The dangerous game is not AfriForum. The dangerous game is the South African government passing laws that directly attack private property rights in this country. And also the dangerous game is the South African government having 141 race laws on the books. Just 20 minutes ago, Elon Musk made a tweet responding to President Ramaphosa, asking him, in his words, why does South Africa have openly racist laws? And Elon Musk is 100% on the money. That's the dangerous game. That's what needs to stop. And I'm very glad that the world is taking notice, finally.
Okay, but you said at the very beginning, that's why I asked the question, in case you did not think that this was the result of your work, that this is the result of your work. It would surely be foreseeable that this is what Trump would do. Yes, of course he is cutting aid to other countries. There was a waiver signed by Mark Rubio in terms of
that's
HIV
treatment. That's a completely
treatment.
separate policy. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're trying to conflate those two to create this moral panic around what's happening, to say that, look how evil you are. That's not true. What's happening is the South African government is threatening private property rights, and the US president is saying he won't stand for it. There's going to be additional measures, from what I can see, in regards to what Trump is announcing here.
Okay, there are various things going on here, right? One of them is that you have been to Washington, your organization. You're very proud of your influence in Washington, from what I can see. The second thing is that you have a US president now who talks about a class of people who are being treated very badly. Who do you believe he's talking about?
He's talking about the people in South Africa that are constantly attacked by the politicians for the color of their skin, the minorities that are constantly scapegoated for all the failures of the ANC. He's talking about the minorities that are targeted by the race laws on the books in this country. He's talking about those minorities targeted, for example, by policies or that you saw, for example, in Diskem, where that internal memo leaked a few years ago, where the promotion and hiring of white people was completely barred by under threat from government fines. To try and ignore these realities is to push your head into the sand like an ostrich. They are there. There are people, especially minorities, being targeted in this country by legislation, and the government is open about it in their rhetoric.
You seem to be a little nervous about using the phrase white people. Why don't you just say it, Ernst? It's white people he's talking about in your view, right?
because it's not just white people, it's many other minority groups in this country as well, in particular white people. That's why it would be dishonest to say just white people. There's nuance here, Stephen. I mean, that's the whole point, that's why AfriForum says we are bringing the facts to the table. We're not a political party. If there's nuance, we bring the nuance to the table. I mean, do you have a problem with that?
Not at all. I completely understand nuance. And of course, we see it in the leadership of AfriForum from time to time. The point here is that you went to Washington. You say you're so worried about the Land Expropriation Act. I'm sure it's a bill that you've studied and many, many times. The fact is it talks about nil compensation in cases where land has been abandoned or is not being used productively. All of the experts I've spoken to who are neutral lawyers, they do not have a political agenda in any case, have all made the same point. As a result of the president's signing of the expropriation bill, now an act into law 2 weeks ago, virtually nothing is going to change. The US, in fact, Trump's government has the right to expropriate land in the public interest. And that's what this all talks about. Is it not the case that you've gone to the US and you've hyped everybody up? And this is the consequence.
No, that's a very disingenuous way of putting it. A very sneaky argument to put it even more bluntly. The issue is not expropriation with adequate compensation, as you see all across the world. The problem is the Expropriation Act enables expropriation without compensation. Now, you can play the little language game of euphemisms of null and no compensation, but when your employer tells you, I'm going to pay you null this year, or I'm going to pay you null this month, I dare you to tell him that, oh, I'm so glad that it's not no salary that I'm going to be paid. Null is a euphemism for no compensation. It just means that the government is going to do their little sums, and then they're going to say, well, we've factored in our little our agenda, and that means our sums say you deserve null compensation for your property. That is expropriation of without compensation by a different name. And if your legal experts are telling you that, then they are absolutely politically biased and not playing an honest game.
All right. So Ernst, after all of this time, 30 years into democracy, right? No farms, no land has been taken without compensation. The point of this act is particularly for cases where land has been abandoned. This happens. I mean, it happens around the world where no one can trace the owner's passed on, there are no descendants. I mean, you'll be aware that this has happened. The fact is that government needs to do something about all of that. What you're doing is conflating this with other issues, making it a big story. To put it bluntly, and let's talk about what we're talking about. This government is not coming for the land of white farmers, is it? You don't believe that?
Well, this is the same government that pushed to enable expropriation without compensation through the amendment of the Constitution just a few years ago. I think they showed their hand.
But it didn't vote in favor of it in the end, did it?
Oh, wow. So, I mean, I'm calling it attempted murder, and you're saying, well, they didn't succeed in murdering anyone. I mean, that the intentions are clear. This is the government that said, after that failed in Parliament, ANC cadres went to the media and said, now that this opportunity has failed, we will use other avenues to get the same ends, such as the Expropriation Act. Okay. That is in the words of ANC representatives. Okay. So when it comes to what you're talking about here, should we only make noise after human rights have been violated, after the government has started expropriating without compensation farms? Or do you actually warn people that the government has granted themselves the power to do that? You act preventatively. You do not wait until human rights violations and atrocities have happened to say anything about them.
Okay. If President Trump phoned you now, and I mean, things happen, okay? You say that you're very connected. If Donald Trump had to phone you now, President Trump phoned you now and said to you, look, have I done the right thing here? Should I restore this money to government because I'm worried about what's going to happen to the people who receive HIV treatment through this? And should I choose another tack to put pressure on the government? Would you say yes?
Again, you're trying to disingenuously tie this to a completely separate policy regarding aid. No, you can't just say, well, this is now unique to South Africa when that's a completely separate policy. You're not playing an honest game here, Stephen. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm sorry.
Ernst, I will decide whether I'm ashamed of myself or not. Thank you. But I'm offering you an opportunity to separate.
I hope your conscience tells you that.
I'm offering you an opportunity to separate the two. That's why I asked the question. Sure. So should we separate HIV funding and government pressure from Donald Trump onto our government? That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm offering you, in fact.
All right. Donald Trump is on the phone. What do I tell him? I tell Donald Trump exactly what we tell him in our letter to Mr. Trump. AfriForum's stance is that he should punish the politicians pushing through these destructive policies, not the citizens of South Africa. That has been AfriForum's stance for years, and it is still AfriForum's stance in 2025. That is the simplest way to put it, and the US is completely within its right, morally and practically, to put pressure on the South African politicians that are pushing South Africa to the brink of chaos and lawlessness, and pushing us to the brink of violation of the constitutional right to private property.
Okay.
And that's why AfriForum sees this as such a serious issue.
Okay, but he could still put pressure on our government and restore the PEPFAR funding, is my point. He could do that.
Sure, that's absolutely
Okay.
possible. I mean,
Okay.
that AfriForum is that's not part of AfriForum's stance that he should cut off aid. AfriForum's stance is that he should punish the politicians enacting and pushing through destructive policies.
Ernst van Zyl, thank you, Head of Public Relations for AfriForum. As I'm sure you're aware, a conversation that will be had many times this week around the situation that we've seen with US President Donald Trump's actions today.
Well, what do you guys think about that? See, this guy, AfriForum, lying through his teeth and everything. They absolutely.
All right, let's stay with this issue now and to speak to Ernst van Zyl, who's with AfriForum, Matthew Parks, COSATU spokesperson, Herman Pretorius, here with us in studio from the South African Institute for Race Relations, and Professor Ruth Hall, who's with the Institute for Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies. Good afternoon to you all, and thank you so much for your time. So, Professor Hall, I'm going to start with you. Some have said that the signing of this bill is a step in the right direction. Your take?
Yes, absolutely. It's high time. In fact, it's 30 years too late. This bill brings our legislation in line with the constitutional settlement that was negotiated in 1995. It says that political transition in South Africa cannot insulate private property. There has to be a law-bound process where the state takes decisive action to restore land to people who've been dispossessed, to acquire land compulsorily, to redistribute it. And this is expropriation. It's not confiscation. There will be checks and balances. There is a court procedure. But I think importantly, there are places where this is desperately needed to overcome spatial apartheid in our cities, to acquire abandoned buildings, to deal with restitution claims that are not being addressed, to subdivide and allocate land to farm workers who are landless. This is what's needed. The question remains, is the government willing to use these powers, and exactly how?
And I'm going to come back to that because that's one of the big questions, and that's been raised by a number of people. Herman, your institute has actually been calling for Parliament to reject this for quite some time now. And you've just heard what Professor Hall has just said. Your take?
I'm familiar with Professor Hall's work, and one of the things that she constantly gets back to is this idea that this legislation gives legal certainty. It doesn't. The list of grounds under which property can be expropriated without compensation is an open-ended list. So far from giving legal certainty, as Professor Hall has argued in the past, this bill does the opposite. She also makes the point that this bill brings the expropriation legislation in line with the Constitution. Well, not Section 25(2)(b) of the Constitution, because this act actually requires, or doesn't require, a court order before land is expropriated, contrary to what is stated in Section 25(2)(b). So the legal elements of this bill, questionable at best. Then Professor Hall also makes the point that this is to redistribute land. Well, tell that to someone like David Rakgase, a very good example of the government's efforts to gain land and control of assets, and then simply refuse to give it back to someone who is such a promising and a black farmer like Mr. Rakgase. So there are many, many problems in this bill legally that I think some people skate over. Then there's the unconstitutionality of the process, how we got here. The consultation process in the National Council of Provinces was especially a sham in terms of using a Google form and not proper accepted parliamentary procedures for making submissions. But then there's also just the plain reality that you can't have economic growth and the destruction of property rights at the same time. A healthy economy means people can work hard, earn an income, and buy things they want and own those things securely. This act goes against that very principle. So every country that has ever gone down this aggressive route of expropriation in an open-ended way, as this act does, has ended up in a socio-economically dire state.
Matthew, what Herman is saying here is something that we've heard from even the Democratic Alliance. They speak about the vagueness of it all, and they say that there's uncertainty when it comes to some parts of this. How does COSATU react to the president assenting this bill?
We welcome it. We've been extensively involved in the drafting of the Expropriation Act. It's now an act, no longer a bill, the act of the country. We've been involved in it for more than a decade. It's been to Parliament twice now. It's been extensively debated at NEDLAC. Huge amounts of public submissions to it. It was adopted in both houses of Parliament by an overwhelming majority of parties, not just the African National Congress. And look, the political premise to it is that we must address our original sin as a country. We can't be proud that we are the most unequal society in the world 30 years into democracy. We can't be complacent about millions of African, colored, Indian, especially women, people in our cities who don't own land, who have to live in backyards or in formal dwellings. We cannot be happy with people, millions of people, farm workers, labor tenants, people in rural areas, again, overwhelmingly African, colored women who don't own land in rural areas. And we can continue to ignore these crises. And the consequence will be what we saw in Zimbabwe, which will be an implosion. The devastation to Zimbabwe is what will happen to us if we don't address it. So this is not a magic wand. It's not going to resolve everything. It's not overplay its importance, but it is a useful, it is a sober, it's a constitutional tool to assist government, because we have seen time and again when governments try to expropriate land and try to negotiate settlements with owners like Mala Mala, it was basically held to extortion, had to spend hundreds of millions of rands on these things, and the state just doesn't have the money. But the bill, the act, doesn't say that it's a Wild West. It doesn't say that government can just run around behaving like some sort of cowboy, taking whatever it wants, not paying money, etc. It's very specific. It's incredibly detailed, and it says, here's a premise for expropriation. It's in line with the Constitution. The government is required to address the legacies of the past, colonialism, apartheid, the inequalities of the past and of today. It is required to ensure people have access to land, to mineral resources, to water, and so forth. I think it's a very detailed process how you do it. How must the government engage with the owner? What is the owner's rights, including going to court? Very clear, concise timeframes. How will compensation be determined? Is it full? Is it partial? Is it nil? And when it comes to nil or zero compensation, again, it's quite detailed. It's not a blank check. It says it's state land, because they had an incident, for example, in the city of Cape Town, when the city wanted to charge some years ago an outrageous amount of money to national government for a housing project. So we need to, as the president said, about a third of the land in the country is owned by the state. Should the state really be extorting the state, for example? It says abandoned land, because we've got a lot of land by owners who have disappear to Australia or wherever they might be. Why should government, and how should government pay for that land? It says if your property has benefited because of a state investment, then the state shouldn't compensate you for that portion. So it's not a reckless blank check. It's sober. It meets the Constitution. And in fact, it's in line with the expropriation laws of many other countries, whether it's the US, whether it's Europe, Brazil. It's not a random comic strip. It's a very sober, pragmatic, common sense law.
And Ernst, I'm going to come to you. I see that Herman here in studio is vehemently shaking his head as Matthew is speaking. But Ernst, when you listen to Contralesa, for example, they share the same sentiments as Matthew. They say that it's not a magic wand. It's not going to solve the country's problems all at once, but it's a step in the right direction. But AfriForum is not happy?
Well, I'm very relieved that I'm sharing the room with Mr. Pretorius here, because then at least I'm sharing the room with another person who believes in the constitutional right of private property. When it comes to this bill, it is a direct onslaught against the idea of private property. When it comes to the debate regarding land, the government was serious about the redistribution of land, they would have fixed the restitution process that has been in place for decades now. But that is a restitution process that has been derailed by corruption, mismanagement, and cronyism, where land does not end up in the hands of previously expropriated from people. Land ends up in the hands of those with the right political connections, and that's a story as old as South Africa itself. I mean, every South African knows that story. When it comes to the idea of that this is now the reaction to the willing buyer, willing seller model failing, that nothing can be further from the truth. We don't have a willing buyer, willing seller model failure here. We have a problem with a hoarder of land in the government. The South African government owns more than 17 million hectares of land. Just for perspective, that's a very big number to get the picture. That is the surface area of Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal combined. If the state wants people to trust that it can handle redistribution of land properly and fairly, it should start redistributing the land that it has in its ownership, rather than trying to open the gates so that it can expropriate without compensation the land of private land owners. Then also this idea, and I agree here with Mr. Pretorius, that when it comes to the bill itself, the expropriation bill, it is marred with vagueness. It is a playground for a corrupt politician. The whole idea of public interest being the criteria, you know as well as I and your audience know that the idea of public interest is the perfect opportunity for a politician to twist any scenario into being in the public interest. And that is the problem here. This bill opens the door for corruption. It opens the door for cronyism, and it opens the door for the abolishment of private property in this country. And I'm so glad there are many sane voices standing up against it, because it is not a sane bill.
Professor Hall, you're chuckling.
Oh, I thought I had a poker face, but yes, I think that's outrageous. Firstly, we're hearing some inaccurate tropes that we've heard before. Firstly, there's an implication that the Constitution provides a blanket guarantee that all private property is sacred. It does no such thing. The Constitution's property clause provides a very clear mandate, and it tells the state it must take action to redistribute land and to achieve land justice in a country that's founded on dispossession. Secondly, there's the implication that the state doesn't need to acquire any land because it's got plenty of land. Well, if you look at what that land is, those 17 million hectares, a lot of it is the former Bantustans. Then there are national parks. There is land held for infrastructure. There is well-located public land in places where we have golf courses in Cape Town, in and around cities, in certain places. Yes, there is some state land. But the one thing that matters when it comes to land is where it is. And I'll tell you 3 examples of very good reasons why there should be expropriation of specific properties of land. Firstly, where there are land restitution claims deadlocked, where you have one set of property rights holders who were dispossessed and other property rights holders who own a title deed now. Those are 2 sets of property rights in direct opposition. And the Constitution says very specifically that the state must take action to ensure justice, which means redistribution. And this Expropriation Act provides the deadlock breaking mechanism. We don't just need to have carrots of offering more and more money to landowners who then hold the process to ransom. There is a deadlock breaking mechanism. And secondly, I think that what we're also hearing is if you have a dysfunctional state that is corrupt, that doesn't manage its own resources well, we can't trust it to acquire property and to redistribute properly. Dead right. I couldn't agree more. But that is not a reason not to pursue progressive politics. What we need now is 2 things over and above the Expropriation Act. Firstly, we need a compensation policy where the state makes it clear how it wants to approach compensation. There are cases where people should be compensated more than market price. Mm-hmm. When you are dispossessing rural communities to make way for mining developments, how are they going to be left better off in the national interest? So when are you going to pay below market compensation and when nil? Yeah. So I think it's now time for that. But secondly, what about the rights of landless people and people who occupy land because they have nowhere else to go? So I think we should focus less on the storyline that is being presented here, which is about private landowners defending their interests versus a nasty state, and realize that we live in a country where the vast majority of people have no secure rights whatsoever.
Herman, I'm going to come to you because now, yes, it's been years in the making for us to get to this particular point, but there's a government of national unity now. There is a minister who is a minister of the Public Works Department who is going to also be championing quite a large portion of this. Are you saying that you still don't have faith that it can be done correctly?
I mean, it's the principle that matters. Professor Hall I don't know where exactly she gets her facts. She's got a beautiful smile, but awful facts. She complains about the landless people. This act does nothing to give people land. In fact, quite the opposite. It destroys the ability of people to own land in the first place. And Matthew talks about workers in South Africa. The 1975 Act, as undemocratic and apartheid era as it was, at least provided some compensation mechanisms for workers on land that is expropriated, which this Act does not. This Act leaves farm workers of expropriated land essentially without any income, without any home, without any compensation, where the 1975 Act did so. So as an advocate for the working people in this country, I think it's quite shameful what Matthew is saying. And what Professor Hall is saying here is that dead right, a state that can't manage its own affairs shouldn't be responsible for this process. Yes, Professor, but this act does nothing about what you care about. It only gives the power to open this patient and not do the surgery.
Are you doubting, though, that Dean McPherson can do a...
Let's stop right there. All right, some serious questions in the chat room. Someone named Intelligent Angelo Caveman, INC. What this is going to benefit from who exactly, and what does it have to do with South Africans in general? What are you talking about? Are you talking about the land appropriations bill? Or are you talking about the fact that I believe South Africa has collapsed? It has collapsed. South Africa, compared to what it was in the 70s, has collapsed. Its banking system, it had a 2-rand system back in the 70s. It supplied half the continent with electricity. Now it has rolling blackouts. Crime is out of control, right? I mean, literally, South Africa is the murder capital of the world. Crime is out of control. There's skyrocketing real estate prices. The economy is just in chaos, and all these things is going on. And so you ask yourself, well, who's responsible for this? You got an open border in South Africa, millions of people flooding into South Africa, and you got the black population has never tasted the benefits of their own country. But you got a black majority, right? You got white minority who are basically instigating tensions between the black majority in South Africa and the white and the blacks from other countries, right? Always bigging up Nigerians, Zimbabweans. Oh, Zimbabweans are so much educated than the local blacks. Oh, Nigerians are so educated, talented, hardworking, or not, And they're playing this game. They know the fact of the matter is, as long as they keep playing this game and know as long as it's like that, the black South African majority will never take its rightful place, because the whites are the ones behind all the racial tension between different groups of black people and stuff like that. They're the problem. I told a story today on YouTube, right? We got these people going around YouTube, these idiots going around YouTube talk about, the blacks are responsible. I said, well, as I recall back in the 90s, right? When the Mandela first came in office, right? That was like April of 1994. I never forget, like by the winter of 94, the Wall Street Journal had an article, right? Talking about this black, it was about the growing number of black businessmen in South Africa, right? And this South African black businessman had this beer that they made, and they sold it in carts. Like, how you have the carts that you have the sippy straw, and those carts. And that's they sold it. And they basically it was the beer from the she-bins, right? I haven't been to South Africa. It's the she-bins, right? She-bins are the little pubs in the shanty towns in the Soweto, and they call she-bins. So anyway, this beer was very popular, right? So when this guy basically got a loan and support from a new government to basically, so he started mass producing this stuff right here. And then he was also doing some food canning of food prep, whatever company, right? The government, the people, the white people who are still in control of the prisons canceled his contract. So therefore, every step of the way, when black people were trying to make advances into the country, the whites were thwart it. They weren't working hard enough for that. They were wasting time in the government. We're not deliberately being inefficient, losing paperwork, doing delays and stuff like that. The whites were doing their best. And then the whites were the ones putting out this image of South Africa being so dangerous to scare off investment and stuff like this. So the whites in South Africa have been at this thing for decades, trying to destroy the legitimate government of South Africa. That's the truth. That combined with the inexperience of the ANC governing of the advanced country like that, that's what collapsed South Africa. It was the fact that the white South Africa were never really honest in trying to help the ANC succeed, and Mandela succeed. They didn't build houses. They didn't do all the stuff they did. They didn't encourage investment to come back to South Africa, So the bottom line is this: the whites owe a lot of responsibility to the white, but they make sure they were taken care of. The white businesses, the white farms, and everything like that. That's why you don't see them. They're fighting so hard to make sure they keep all the mines, the farm, the sector that really works. That they control. Absolute. There's no come up in the farming until we're blacks or the whites pretty much dominate that because they have access to cheap black labor. Caveman, IMC, so like I don't just start picking off leaves or branches, anything. I get to the root, root. So what is the root, Mr. INC? What is the root? I don't pick off branches either, I get to the root. The root of the problem is you got a white community and a white nation inside of a black country, right? The white country built its infrastructure, global, so as you see now has a global system and everything like that. And basically the black community, a black nation in South Africa is completely weak and paralyzed. Why does the AfriForum have a better relationship with the United States than the legitimately elected country or government of the ANC? Why is that? It's not about this land appropriation. That's not had nothing to do with it. It's not about white farmers. It's not about white genocide, not like that. It's the fact of the matter is nobody in South Africa, nobody in the world recognizes the authority of black people, because no one really believes that black people are capable of building a country as advanced as South Africa on their own. So they never legitimized. They said, okay, we got Mandela, but in the back of everybody's mind is where the whites still control the economy and everything like that, still a white country. But the actual fact that you got black people making strides in South Africa and doing business and doing all things like film work and stuff like that, it's changing, it's changing. So the whole idea, and also the notion that black people would always need white people to govern. Now, what we find now is South Africans have been reaching out to Black America, let's see, Blacks Without Borders. You got black people from America coming down there and cleaning white South Africans' clocks, cleaning their clocks as far as business and investment and stuff like that. Just bringing outpacing them all. Just not from America, but different parts of Africa. You got black people from all over the world descending on South Africa and basically filling gaps that were needed. So white people feel like, wow, man, we didn't bet on this, because they knew the black education was so far behind, right? That, they didn't, would never catch up. Now, what they want to do is cause tension between the blacks from South Africa and the blacks from the Congo, Nigeria, and all this stuff like that. Because if these two groups of people ever unite, then the white people in South Africa will be in power. Yes, I'm still here, folks. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on my what you call it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this stupid StreamYard lately. But yeah. So what I was saying was I was cooking on the last thing. The problem in South Africa is, look, when you have land appropriations bill, just don't, I'm like, I get it, we do an emotional thing. Remember something, a lot of this is done by people who are basically pressured by Julius. It's like a principle thing. I don't think, even if you appropriate land, whatever like that, I don't think that's going to change the situation in Black South Africa. I really don't. I don't think we're having land or land appropriation. It's just basically a stab at history. You cannot change history. White people came there, they colonized the place, they built the place, they laid their roots down, and everything like that. It happened, right? As soon as Black people accept that and say, look, what can we do? South Africa, just like Black America, Black South Africa is a tragedy of history. We basically have a lot in common. The fact that two of the most successful countries in the world, South Africa and America, have been done at the expense of a Black population. So what to do? Black people in America basically saying, we know America did all this to us, but what can we do? We still, 99% of us want to be here. 99% of us consider ourselves a thing, Internet came and said, you can't sit around all the world and want the world to revolve around you everywhere. If you don't like the land world, nobody should be help you feel because you're not true. You put yourself in danger. I'm not putting myself in any danger, my friend. Wherever I go, whether it's I'm in the United States, whatever, I'm perfectly fine. I'm gonna keep saying my opinion, no matter how much danger I so-called put me up. I got things I need to say. I don't think the world's a just place. So my whole thing is this: I don't basically believe that taking farm. If a white person has been working a farm for generations, productive, whatever like that, I think it's immoral to take that farm away, no matter how he got it. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Now the whole thing about expropriation of land, right? What's the purpose of that, right? If you're not going to take away land that was like, because suddenly, like I said, I see the African way. The African mind is, where a land is doing good, oh, the whites got the best land. No, they're using fertilizers. They're using different types of modern techniques and everything. They're using modern farming equipment and stuff like that. And so also they're using a large scale commercial farming and everything. So therefore they have a better yield. And they basically have a global distribution network. So that's why they look like they're doing well. The land is the land. There's no such thing as poor soil or good soil or whatever like that, So anytime Israel could grow food in the desert, anytime you can grow food in the desert, there's no excuse for you to take any soil in Africa and make something out of it. The problem is with Black people in general, right? We only want something where somebody else builds it and we want to appropriate it for ourselves. Now you may say, Kyle, well, the land is really going to be like, yeah, that's true. You can say all that, but justice is, okay, well, there was a war between the Blacks and the whites. The Blacks lost, right? So the white people built their civilization or everything. And then in apartheid, the whites said, okay, you Black people, it's time for you guys to be part of the civilization that we built. Now, Black people are trying to kick white people out like they built the civil. I knew somewhere along the line, I knew this Afroforum stuff that we're seeing right now. I knew, see, just knowing the white man in America, knowing the white man in Europe and everything, knowing the white man in South Africa, Australia, how they think, right? I know that they were not going to sit back and let that happen. I knew this. People are shocked that you got Elon Musk using his power and influence with Donald Trump to bring down Ramaphosa in South Africa. I'm not shocked at all. Because I knew it was like, do you think they were going to let you take away one of their pride? South Africa was the white world's pride and jewels, a white country in Black Africa. You know, that was the most, they was always boast about that. South Africa, the richest country in Africa, you know, supplies half the electricity, you know. So, caveman, who's going to do anything about it, you know? Who's going to do what about it? No, my whole thing is there's a global support system, right? That's supporting Elon Musk, the AfriForum and everything like that. That's bringing pressure to bear. It doesn't help that South Africa's got itself involved in the Jewish-Palestine situation, which I was saying to myself, what the hell? When they said we're going to bring South Africa to that, what the hell is Israel got to do with the starving people in your country? What the? That's why I said, this is when people say, why don't you just go to South Africa? No, I am not letting these morons rule over me. You know, you were making a deal with Iran, America's number one enemy. You were going against Israel, America's number one friend and whatnot. What are you doing? Why are you still dependent on the African Growth and Economics Act? Why are you still dependent on a white sizable population to feed you and everything like that? What the hell were these stupid idiots thinking about in South Africa? You know, it shows me that the average African on the continent has a freaking 4th grade fucking reading level or level of comprehension. You know, that was one of the reasons why South Africa is collapsing. You know, another thing is the fact that there's a white racist cabal globally working against South Africa. They don't even, the sad part about it is the black people don't even know that. Like people, when Donald Trump said something about Lesotho, you know, let me see if I can play that video. The people in Lesotho are feeling some sort of way. How do you know about Lesotho? Look, bro, I forget about Lesotho, you know. I know about it because I'm black, but other than that, you know, nobody knows what your little backward shithole country is, you know. You know, Trump and Lesotho. Lesotho. That's why and Africans act so dignified. How can a president like Donald Trump not know who we are? That's how arrogant a lot of Africans are. Nobody knows who the hell your country is, you know? Nobody knows where the Gambia is. Nobody knows where Haiti is. Nobody knows where these freaking places are. No, really. Let's be honest with ourselves, you know? So let's watch this video, folks.
Hello again from a rainy Johannesburg this Wednesday afternoon. It is a small mountainous kingdom completely surrounded by South Africa. We may know what we're talking about, but the US President Donald Trump clearly does not know anything about Lesotho. He used the country in his first address to Congress since returning to the White House. He delivered his State of the Union address last night. Trump listed US aid funding cuts and the affected projects. Among them was work that's being done in Lesotho.
$45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real.
Okay, let's see. Here's another one. This is a response to that. People are just
We're now joined by Ntakwane Ngatane, independent journalist. Good evening, Ntakwane. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. I must say The statement of the African nation Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of, must have surprised many. How has the international media been covering the story of Trump and Lesotho, and what has been the general reaction across the globe?
I'll tell you what. So the position I'm in now is that I organize a very big Africa festival in Vienna, Austria. And nowhere is fascism and Nazism more scary than in Austria and Germany around the world, because you remember that these are the countries that were at the heart of the First World War, and secondly, the Second World War. So people here do not tolerate nationalism or Nazism as it was called. However, in terms of what President Donald Trump said about Lesotho, it has really raised curiosity and done a lot of work, surprisingly, maybe not, for the tourism of Lesotho, but also for us who are trying to promote both Africa and Lesotho in particular, because people are now asking, what is Lesotho? Where is Lesotho? So now we have the opportunity actually to say that Lesotho is a country that you can visit, that you can do business with, and change the perception that has been held up until now, that when you deal with Africa or when you deal with Lesotho, it's about aid and it's about charity. So in a sense, it has improved the way that people look at Lesotho, but also even more, the coming into power of Donald Trump has reminded Europe in particular where it doesn't want to go, which is where it was when we ended up with the First and the Second World Wars.
So most certainly there's been an upside to this specific statement. But there are also many high-profile individuals who have visited Lesotho. In fact, Prince Harry co-founded the charity Santibela, which supports children who live in extreme poverty or are affected by HIV. Surely the US president would have read reports on Prince Harry's visit to Lesotho back in October when we were all reporting on it, especially because he lives in the United States now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Prince Harry didn't only start a charity. He lives in Lesotho part of the time. He says he owes Lesotho and Africa for taking him out of a period of depression after his mother had passed away. You remember that he spent a lot of time with herd boys in Lesotho, and that's what led to the founding of Sintibali, his charity, with the Prince of Lesotho, Prince Seeiso, and they do brilliant work. So there is no way that President Donald Trump can say he doesn't know Lesotho. But also, not long ago, he was in the news because maybe he is far removed from what his companies does or the people that he does business with do. But as you saw in that report earlier, he makes golf shirts out of Lesotho, because one of the biggest ways that Lesotho deals or trades with the United States of America is through textiles. It is one of the biggest exporters because Lesotho, under the Africa Growth Opportunity Act, Africa Growth Opportunity Act of the United States, qualifies to export to the United States duty and quota free. A lot of manufacturers come from Asia and they manufacture in Lesotho. So Lesotho has become a hub and a big trading partner for the United States. So it's not just aid that is coming to Lesotho, it is pure trade and sometimes even investment. The reason the United States, for instance, has decided to bring in more funding for agriculture in Lesotho is because at the end of the day, when it does that, American companies get work in Lesotho, but in return, Lesotho is then able to do even better trade with the United States of America. So sometimes he may say things, I suppose, for the gallery that sound funny, but on the bottom of it, we know that there's real business and real trade relations going on between the two countries.
Then one wonders, how could he have missed all of this trade? Or perhaps, as you say, he could have been playing to the gallery, because we are now discussing this very matter. But all of this is happening during the Mushweshwe walk. I mean, most certainly there would be an upside, I suppose, as you say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So as I say, here where I am, I organize the Africa Target Festival. It's the biggest festival, the biggest Africa festival here in Vienna. And we bring African businesses to do trade and culture with European businesses, but particularly businesses here in Austria. And I say that while we thought this may be negative, it has actually made people more curious. And maybe if you ask the organizers of Mushweshwe Walk, they will tell you that as a result of what President Donald Trump said, maybe some of the numbers went up. But I can tell you that for us in particular, who are here in Europe, we have certainly had more interest in the work that we are doing. And today in particular, we sent out a message to say, for us in Lesotho, if you're looking for something good to do for a holiday, you can actually ski in Africa. These are words that people, I think, don't put together in their heads because they don't think, how can you ski in Africa when it's hot? But Lesotho is high. It snows in winter. You've seen that. So yeah, I think this winter, because of the messaging that we are putting out, because we are saying we know Lesotho, even if President Donald Trump doesn't know Lesotho, I think we're going to be seeing more visitors coming to Lesotho.
Most certainly, and hopefully many of them, once in Lesotho, will take images and then tag Donald Trump to say, this is Lesotho, we're here now. All thanks to you. Ntakwane, thank you very much for joining us this evening. That is independent journalist Ntakwane Ngatane speaking to us there.
Yeah, that's the whole thing is, should Donald Trump be held accountable for not knowing what Lesotho is? Should Donald Trump be raked over the fire? Should his balls be dragged over the coal because he didn't know what Lesotho was, or not where that was and everything like that? I don't know. I knew about Lesotho, you know. I knew it was like a little circle of a country, a little dot in South Africa. I always wonder why South Africa didn't just swallow it up. You know, is Lesotho really that important? So what I'm saying is, DK said Donald Trump respects power, right? The whole thing is, though, why do African countries, I think they don't get it. I think there's two different things when you deal with Africans, right? The world that they live in. When you live in your own world, you have nothing to measure yourself by. So you could tell yourself you're a king. You can become a king. You tell yourself you're the son of a priest. You can tell yourself from royal blood. Okay, you believe that, you know. But the thing is, what Africans say, this is the problem we have a lot of African brothers and sisters in this country, right? A lot of them coming from like nobility, upper class, royalty. And then when they come to this country, even when they deal with us, we don't care about none of that, you know. America doesn't care about none of that. We don't know about your country. And all of a sudden, Africans get upset when no one ever heard their country before. They, oh, African Americans. No, when you're on top, you don't have to worry about, you know, it is. It may sound cruel and everything like that, but that's just the way it is. If Africans knew that, they say, you know something, we got to do a better job in basically building ourselves up so we get to respect the people, the legitimate respect the people. Africans think respect is an entitlement, you know. You don't know that Lesotho, you don't know we got a kingdom and the king such and such. No, I don't know that dusty Negro, you know. I never heard of your country, you know. That's what people say, you know. So it is what it is, you know. And so yeah, but back to the topic about South Africa. You know, South Africa is the major power for the whole entire subcontinent. If South Africa goes, I would say about half the strength of the continent goes. That whole sub-region is finished. Now, South Africa has been, like I was telling earlier, about South Africa stands for Israel. Its foray into the Congo. When I have no idea this clown Cyril Ramaphosa is doing, you know. His going after relationships with Iran, America's enemy, his foray into the Congo one night, which is probably was Paul Kagame, his the beef with Bibi Netanyahu, and basically making it with Hamas. Basically, Hamas. Now, South Africa is a major power. Hamas kidnapped on October 17th, October 5th, whatever that was, October 5th, whatever, 17 people, whatever like that, you know, and killed someone, you know. And then when Gaza got struck back, South Africa doesn't even see the humanity in the fact that, okay, I want to see Palestine liberated. But when you start doing stuff like executing people, blowing people up and stuff like that, we got to distance ourselves because you become what they are. So he put South Africa's history credibility on the line by aligning themselves with Hamas, you know. Gaza is in the Israel. It's like a strip that connects the Sinai Peninsula with the state of Israel. It's a little strip that connects the Sinai, Egypt, and the whole thing. It's like with the Gaza Strip right there and the Suez Canal. You know what I'm saying? You could drive literally from, I don't know if you could drive there. I think it's the Suez Canal. I don't know if there's a bridge there or tunnel. I don't know what the heck that is. But I think I was always told that you could drive from Gaza to Egypt, you know. So where's Egypt? Where's Israel? Okay, what you call it? You're trolling me, man. You're trolling me, so you gotta go. You asked me a question, where's Israel? You gotta go. If you think you think I'm playing games on this platform, you're sadly mistaken. Now I'm gonna put the link in the chat room. I'm gonna start stuff like that. But I got another video I want to play. Well, I'll let people in. There's another video I want to play. And this right here tells me everything I'm saying. So when you people want to listen to people like Dr. Mumby, Dr. so-called Arikana, PLO Lumumba, and all these other people, instead of you could have your hometown boy right here, College Genesis, you could blow this platform up, and then we can get someplace. Because I know what you want. I know what you need. You cannot trust these Africans from the continent to lead us or inspire us. They're not us. I hate to say this, man, but people say that's so cruel when but their mindset is different from ours. I'm gonna prove it right now. This is about your average African on the continent. This is the real thing. They really do believe that race does not exist. I'm gonna let this play, and I don't think I can get through the whole video, but I'm gonna stop it because I know it's gonna make me so angry. I don't want to get angry right now. Let me play this video. Watch this video. Watch this fool talk about the fathers of Pan-Africanism said it was okay for white to be African. Where does this come from? Let's go our story. Who's our story? I can't even get a background of things. It's a relatively small channel or whatever like that. I don't know who puts this out there, but I know for a fact that the matter is there are growing people who are sent as agents, spies, race traders into the so-called Pan-African spaces. I wouldn't be surprised if this Afro's think tank, this Afro's think tank and everything. Hold on, give me a second, man is fair. Let me get this in here. I want to play this video.
It was George Patnor from Trinidad, and then Pan-Africanism, as you know, in that birthed or born in the Americas, and Nkrumah goes back to Ghana. Jomo Kenyatta goes back, to Kenya. Just to mention those two, they were at the 1944 Manchester Congress. So then when Nkrumah became the leader of Ghana, and they organized the first major Pan-African conference, there were more than 300 people were there. And then the majority African nationalists, Patrice Lumumba from Congo was there, Frantz Fanon from the Caribbean, from Martinique was there on behalf of the Algerian Liberation Front. During that conference, they had a debate about who is an African. And they came to this conclusion that is an African, every person who can trace his roots to Africa, and who can claim Africa, and who respects the law of the majority. So that is a definition that I embrace. Because when I hear people saying that, white people cannot be Africans, listen, it is not possible anymore, because we have to acknowledge, we have to respect the result of the history of the process that are.
Yo, look, see this? Hear this fool, this old fool, and this old fool. I just hope my brother Lewis don't turn out like this. What do you mean accept the whites? White people cause our pain and suffering. They're the ones who started the transatlantic slave trade. They're the ones who brought all this pain and suffering to us. What the hell you mean I gotta accept them as citizens or whatnot? That's why I'm glad right now I'm in the Great Republic of Liberia. I'm in the Great Republic of Liberia. No, Kwame Nkrumah never said nothing like that. He married an Egyptian wife, but he never said nothing about white people being. He said these countries like North Africa, they're on the continent. They could be part of the OAU. So people confuse the OAU with Pan-Africanism. When we say Pan, we're talking about Black nationalism. Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism was rooted in the Holocaust, the Mafia, this transatlantic slave trade. Yeah, he married a white Arabic woman. I get that, but the whole thing is though he never promoted white people were Africans like we are. You know, remember something? We had apartheid in South Africa at the time. We had white rule in Zimbabwe. You know, and we had white people rule in Kenya when he was president. You know, they're still ruling Kenya, so it was not like that. You know, he was not like people use that. He married an Arab woman or not to basically say he supported race mixing and stuff like that. You know. No, he didn't. No, I don't believe in that, bro. I don't believe in that. I ain't gonna discredit Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah was a symbol of Black power. You know, I mean that was one fault. He married a white, light skinned Arab woman, or not. You know, but I don't know. Kwame Nkrumah was one of our great leaders. You know, so let me get him on and let me finish some of this video, man, spare, and we'll get back to that.
I just spoke about. So that is the definition I will give you about who is an African. I know, and I've debated with one of my friends. Her name is Nduku. I think she's from East Africa, and then she has a show Kumukeni, and then she does not agree. But this is the definition that Frantz Fanon, Kwame Nkrumah, and there were some white people who were there at the conference. Patrick Duncan from the South African Liberal Party was one of the delegates of the conference, white South African, who was fighting on behalf of Africa.
So we said that's the whole thing. We can never get united without these fools thinking they got to have white people involved with everything, you know? I pause it for a second. Go ahead, Dark Migo. Okay, like I said, I'm going to finish the video. I'm going to finish the video.
Africa for freedom and against apartheid, and then some other white people were there. So that's the definition they did of me. That's the definition I accept, that's the definition I embrace, and that is the definition that I defend. You trace African history talking about Black people, and then any person who claims Africa and who respects the law of the majority. Because I need to expand on that, because during colonial time, as we know, the Europeans did not want to give freedom to the colonized people. And in societies, on the region where white people were controlling everything, the political power, they were not willing to accept the one man, one vote. Mandela went to prison because of what? One man, one vote. So they wanted to put into place what they call the multiracial democracies, so that the minority, the white minorities, can rule over the Black majorities in South Africa, in Kenya, in some other parts of Africa. So that was the conversation. So now, if you are white and you want to claim your Africanness because your ancestors are in Africa, but you are fighting on behalf of Africa's freedom, you have the right to claim that Africanness or your Africanity or anything that relates you to Africa. But you have to claim exclusively Africa, and you have to respect the law of the majority. So who were the majority? Black people. So when people say, no, a white person cannot be African, I don't know. If a white person, first of all, many white people don't want to be associated with Africa, many of them. Let's say it. So if some people seem to associate themselves with Africa, it's not like we have to be happy, but we have to acknowledge that they want to claim some Africanness. So we have to embrace them, as long as they're not on the side of those who want to exploit Africa, as long as they're not promoting racism, as long as they're not promoting apartheid, as long as they want to respect the law of the majority, or as long as they want to respect basic rules or values of freedom and democracy, and then communal empowerment or economic freedom or economic empowerment. So that is the conversation. This is what people have to see when they're having that conversation about who is Black, and then who is African, who is not African.
Let me pause it right there before I finish. All right, any
This is
feedback?
sick. This is a sick Negro, man.
Yeah, that's a typical African on the continent. That's how they think.
It's a lack of I hate to say it, but it's a lack of a truly African-centered culture. And what I mean by that is, if you look at Japan, um, they have an idea of race, right? But for some reason, Africans, they say they have
Because
culture, but they
The
have no
African
idea.
looks in the mirror and he really doesn't like what he sees, so he wants to be anything but what he is. He hates himself. The African hates himself. Let's just be honest with ourselves, you know. And so therefore, he basically like, oh, any love that he gets from anybody else is like this. Well, other people, they love themselves. They don't care about other people. When the African loves himself, you know, the African doesn't love himself. You
I
know,
think the contention comes in.
And that's why I kind of shit on Kwame Nkrumah, because he was the first leader of his country and he didn't marry a black woman. I have a problem with
but then again, you know, I think, you know, this is how I'll say it, right? Now, Dr. Seretse Khama, right, of Botswana, built his country. And the reason why Botswana is a successful country because of him and his son Ian Khama. Now they got another government there. Botswana is one of the wealthiest countries in Africa right now. Seretse Khama, his wife was an English woman. See, there's a thing. Whole thing is this, DK, is that I don't expect everybody to. If I see an African American man with a white woman, that's different, you know, because the history, the culture of the society, that's a statement. When you're a black African American man and you're with a white woman, that's a real statement. But like back in the days, I remember Marla Iman was with David Bowie. It was like no big deal because he's an English person and she's Somali, whatever like that. It was like no big deal, you know. When you see people from other people, whether you see a Frenchman and let's say a woman from the friggin' Zimbabwe, you're like, okay. But when it comes to this system here in America, it's particularly the United States, the Americas, the United States, there's a power dynamic and a cultural dynamic that you're making a political statement, you know, when you date outside your race. That statement doesn't really exist in Africa, you know. So therefore, I don't expect them to understand that aspect of our culture. That's our culture. Race and racial separatism is Black American culture, you know.
But
So
my thing is this. I'm talking about, these are Africans. Africans will tell you every day that they have this culture. But when your leaders, I'm not talking about people, just regular people, your leaders marry the opposite race. We don't see people in China, the leaders of China, Xi Jinping, he's married to a Chinese woman. The leaders of Japan are married to their own
to a white woman. Mayor President of Guinea. Look, let me say this. Let me say this, DK. Let me say this. Look, the bottom line is this. This is why I say that the African American needs to land a nation of his own. Because you think that would happen in our land? You know, no. The African, we cannot rely on the African for our future. You know, it's just not going to happen. You know, like I said, I'm in Liberia. I love this country. I'm here right now, right? But I am so sick and tired of seeing white guys walking around here. It's worse now. You know, it wasn't even like this last year. You know, these white guys have basically came to Liberia. They discovered they got hot chicks. They discovered it's a nice up and coming place, and they act like they're fucking so at home here. I don't like that shit. You know, walking around hugging up on African women. I don't like that shit. You know, but the thing is,
you mentioned the president of Guinea. It's even worse because the guy was in French Foreign Legion, and supposedly his wife is a French police officer. So if this is the type of guy you can put in power, what does that say about your society?
That's why before people start telling me about the African states of ASA, whatever it's called, and you got Guinea, Mali. You know, look, man, these are Negropeans, you know, and stuff like. I don't really, like I said, I can't really. I say I wish them a lot of luck, man. But people are, oh yeah, Guinea and Mali and Burkina Faso coming together. Oh yeah, I wish them a lot of luck. But still bothers me the fact that our problem in the West is we have a problem with race. America is a racist country and everything like that. You see more and more white people are just basically being blatant and bold about their racism and racist shit with that. It's never going to go away, you know? The Africans don't understand.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors there because you're talking about relationships. If the black African woman likes white men, then you know, what can you do about that? If
do a
you
lot
really,
about it. Do a lot about
if
it. You basically make
so,
I told a girl tonight. I said, let me say this. I told a girl tonight. I said, look, I hope you find that guy that's gonna like you, love you, the way I love my wife, whatever like that. But I said, please don't make it be a white a white guy. And she started laughing. She goes, oh, you guys don't like that? I said, hell no, we don't like that. She's a Liberian girl. I said,
so my thing is about power, right? So it's just not about talking, right? We do something about it, right? So if there was white guys hugged up with black women and stuff like that, I would go fight him. You know what I'm saying? I would start a fight.
well, I'm not gonna cause it. I'm in a foreign country. I'm not gonna
right.
do that.
So because you talk about the racism in America, and it's going on over there in Africa too, right? Racism is a worldwide thing. It's
the thing is though, the thing is though, you gotta understand something, right? What I may see is racist, but I'm not the majority here. The majority of Africans that live here don't see nothing
so when African Americans,
hold on, I cannot impose my worldview on these people here. They don't have
right. So then you got to stay under. So then your opinion and everything and what you want for them has to stay under. That doesn't really count.
I say nothing. I say nothing. I just sat back and mind my damn business and said nothing. So because
So when we're talking about power, so when we're talking about power and changing something, right? Changing something. So that comes in numbers. That comes with, just like that guy was talking about majority, you know what I'm saying? And culture and religions and things like that. If I say I'm Buddhist, if I say I'm Islamic, if I say I'm anything, that doesn't count or doesn't matter. That's an affair of the heart. If it does something for me personally and I get something from that, then that's what that is. But it's another thing to fellowship with people, do something political, change something, you know what I'm saying? That's now a change. So my bigger point, hold on, I'm about to bring it home, about to land the plane. My bigger point is African Americans are the smarter black in the world. We're the smartest, we're the most forward black in the world. Hold on, let me just finish because I'm landing the plane. I'm giving it right to you. So with that being said, we have to link up with Africans and make change and be numbers and be power and make things political and make change amongst ourselves. Continue.
Well, the reality is, like I said, I'm on the continent right now. I've been going to Africa for years now. The reality is, that's the way we think, right? The reality is the average African that really don't see anything we're talking about. They don't see the power dynamic that we see, When a white person is here in Africa, they automatically assume he's an investor. He got money and stuff like that. Me personally, they treat me like an American. I get that, but the whole thing is, though, I'm still a foreigner here, just like that white guy here, and that white guy, Chinese guy, this Chinese is all kinds of men here doing their thing and getting along. I'm at the hotel I'm staying at.
When you have your brothers with you, we become a power. We become a political power. We become
we can't become a power if I can't even get people to say, look, let's just focus on this country, Liberia, and let's be over there in numbers. If I can't do that, I'm just talking,
Right. So it's not just about you. Like it's got to be advantageous in something like that benefits everyone.
Let me tell you something, right? There's all kinds of opportunity on this continent, right? If you're a young man,
we know. I mean, I'm an African American like you. I'm smart. I'm educated. I'm well aware of this world and how it works and what's opportunities. All these things. You can't tell me anything about. You know what I'm saying? I'm well aware. I'm just like you.
What I'm saying is this: when you say, one point I'm trying to make is when you say that we need to be there in numbers, right? I want to see that happen. And can't see that happen when people don't make that trip or getting their passport and say like this, and doing things. In other words, we need to be in a position. I know it's not going to be overnight. We need to be in that position where we have people that's going to the continent, making big moves. And when they see us over there in the same way they see the whites and the Indians, then you'll see things change. Right now, all they see is a bunch of, okay, we understand what you're saying, Black Power, Malcolm X. You still see a lot of stuff like that rhetoric going around. But the reality is who they deal with actually are the people they feel that's going to empower them. And we have not done that job of letting them know that this Pan-African stuff, this Black national stuff can empower them. That's the challenge right there,
Well, that's the thing. See, I don't expect us to take our culture and impose it on them. That should not be
culture. It's about our culture. It's like, look, the white people and the Asian people come here and they somehow get along with people without ever imposing their culture on them. Why is that?
Well, they have a unified culture called domination. They understand that.
No, it ain't no dominance. That's how ignorant, man. They basically come, the Lebanese, especially a Muslim, right? They got their own thing, their culture. They learn the local culture. A lot of Lebanese know how to speak the Liberian Kolakwa. They know all the stuff like this, the different Pele language, the Bassa language.
To do what with them? To do what with them?
Well, the Lebanese, if the Lebanese were not here, this country would not be look like shit. This country looks nice.
Are you talking about white people or black people? What are you talking about?
Lebanese or white?
Lebanese what? Who?
Lebanese or white? You ever heard of Lebanon before, bro?
Oh, but where is Lebanon? Where is Lebanon?
Damn,
come on. To the Middle East. Come on, dude. You don't know where Lebanon is?
And where's the Middle East?
So Lebanon is in the Levant, bro. It's in the Mediterranean. Are you serious?
So here's my thing. Are we talking Africa?
Oh, I'm in Africa right now. I'm saying that the people.
And you're talking about white people. You said Lebanese, and that threw me right off. That threw me right off.
What I'm saying is, I'm in Africa right now, and the people that's building mostly are white people.
We know white people are going to come and construct everything just like they do in America. They're going to come pave the roads. They're going to come build.
But the thing is, though, Black America has actually more wealth and more money than Lebanon. Lebanon's a poor country.
You can't use it, and for what? Then it doesn't matter. Like things to have something and not use it or make it as a power doesn't matter as anything.
Go. Get off my stage. DK, you understand what he was talking about? Besides babbling.
He was just rambling. Well, once he said Lebanon, he didn't know where Lebanon is. I lost him. Yeah, that was a mess. How is Liberia, Kala? How are you doing there? Can you hear me? It looks like Kala's janky Liberian internet connection got him again. Hopefully he can get back on. People in the chat got hit the like button. 4 likes is crazy. Ross said, fuck that. They're not hitting the like button.
I'm back. But the whole thing is, oh no, here comes Lewis. Hey Lewis, I don't want to hear no South African bashing because I basically want to.
Definitely not. Lewis, I got the video up of your president begging the Secretary of State for a fucking loan. Like, that's
Oh, you
embarrassing.
talking about Tony Blinken?
Yeah, that was
Yeah, I remember I
embarrassing.
saw that. That was so pathetic, man. You know, I was like, dang, man, that was pathetic.
And then snitching on Burkina Faso, talking about
Yeah,
Burkina Faso.
they'll drop it down over Burkina Faso, man. Talking about, we'll keep an eye on them for you, boss. You know?
Hey,
He
Carla,
sounded like a slave, for real. He sounded like a
Carla.
slave.
Hello, guys. Listen, Carla, why didn't you let me on when that guy was on? I could have, have some very important point I wanted to bring home, and then you didn't let me on.
What guy? The guy that we were just talking?
Oh, he made some silly points. I just said, I got to let me on.
I'll bring him back up so you can hear and talk to him. You know.
No worries. Listen, you started off with a very nice build up, but I think sometimes you got to do is shift it onto the subject so that we can deal with it. So much in one place, you know.
Yeah, see, my whole point is, my point I'm going to try to make tonight is, it's not just the black South Africans that failed, right?
Okay.
I've been studying this for 30 years. The white South Africans strategically undermined this country, you know? Right. Every step away. And I say combined with black incompetence and stuff like that, and naivete, you know? The white South Africans do everything to sabotage South Africa globally, you know?
We
and now
understand.
that's what they created this younger group of people like Elon Musk and all these people to really do a thing, you know? This guy got a lot of power. He founded PayPal, you know? Right. People in the powers of America, right? And they believe that the South Africa 94 election was illegitimate, you know? And they want power. They really want power back. How are they going to have power? See, this is what I'm saying. This is not time to bash our brothers in South Africa, right? I really feel
no, it is time to bash them. But it's best to let them.
No, I don't know. I'm not going to bash them. Know why? Right. Because they did the whole world. Let me say this. Let me say this, bro. The whole world, the whole black world was like, everywhere I took, we fought against apartheid. We were not trying to bring out black supremacy. We fought against apartheid, right?
The whole world was ready to go to fight.
I'm just talking about the way we like this. Let me say this. We basically, as black people, the race, look at everywhere like it was nothing about anything else other than democracy. We had a rainbow country, a multiracial democracy. That's what we were fighting for. You know, that's what we're fighting for.
Okay.
We can't just come up now and talk about we should have did this. Was that? Look, black people made up 99% of the brain trust in South Africa. The industries, everything that makes South Africa is not Ghana. South Africa is a major industrialized country. You know, the black people did not have the skills, the talents, and everything. So they want to build a country, right? But they know they need the whites. The whites instead of saying, we know we're needed for a couple of generations at least, right? But they instead saying, you know something, because we were forced into this country, we're going to do everything we can to stop. I told you about the case where there was a black man, who is a Zulu guy, who was a businessman, who was given, like a lot of businesses just basically left South Africa, and there was like Patrice Motsepe, he got a bunch of abandoned mines, called Rainbow Minerals. Cyril Ramaphosa became a billionaire.
A very rich man before, because he left the scene for a while.
All these people, all this happened, right? Real quick. There's one guy, basically, Wall Street Journal talked about this article where the guy basically was supplying food. They had packaged foods that the prisoners eat one night, and the military buy. Those little dinners that they showed you on the airplane. Well, anyway, the prison warden, the prison board in South Africa, was still in control by whites, whatnot, canceled the contract. Things like that was happening all over South Africa, where whites were basically boycotting black businesses. And none of that would not hire local black people. Would basically go to other black people and hire them and stuff like that. So the bottom line is, the black South Africans never really had a chance. They never had a chance.
Hear me out, okay? If I can just mention as well before we forget, it was yesterday, 6th of March, Ghana's Independent Day. That was the day when Nkrumah made the historic speech.
Your boy DK said Nkrumah was a freaking traitor,
Right. Who?
Your boy DK, my boy DK, but he said Kwame Nkrumah was a sellout because he married an Arab.
He's an idiot, right?
Ooh,
he's an idiot. Let me just remind everybody,
Go ahead.
a particular time in history Nkrumah lived and existed at. Nkrumah's, when I was a kid, one of the biggest critics I heard against Nkrumah, because I just heard the name Nkrumah. I was a kid, I didn't even know who he was. But the people from my father's side of Ghana, especially the Ashanti zone, they were against. They liked Nkrumah, but there was one thing they mentioned about Nkrumah. They said he married a Bruni. Okay, so it's not as if the Africans are not aware. They are aware. But Nkrumah was often too far ahead of his people. Nkrumah didn't just marry a regular from DB woman from anywhere. He married the niece of President Nasser, who was the most powerful man in North Africa at the time and in the Arab world. You have to remember the time these brothers existed. Okay? The Arabs were trying to pull him away from Africa and he trying to pull them back the other way. All right? He didn't just marry a regular thing because he was fascinated by white. No. Nkrumah's main secretary was a white English woman. You can get on YouTube talking about the things that happened. She met everybody and she continued to write most of his memoirs and so on. She took most of the notes for his book and got it published in England when he was not able to travel around because they were trying to kill him. So Nkrumah's head was way above a lot of the stuff that we think of. What makes Nkrumah special as well is he had the opportunity to make himself richer than any black man there. Nkrumah didn't have a single penny or bank account with his name on it. He was dedicated to the cause. That's what makes Nkrumah so special. Now, yeah, he married a thing. Now, we can look at it and say that was a mistake. In his time, it was a way of getting the Egyptians and the Arabs back into the African fold, though they were not all of them of African blood, because a lot of them are mixed blood, right? But at the time, he had to make decisions. Nkrumah's army, the Ghanaian army, one of the first things they were designated to do when Ghana took independence was to set up an army to fight in Zimbabwe, to fight in the other war that was going on. But the main thing they wanted was South Africa. That was a war that was in the future that was going to happen. Okay, so I don't want to hear on the 6th of March any nonsense about Nkrumah. Nobody's perfect, at least of all us. But when you look at his record, he was the best we had, one of the best we had, especially on the continent. So let's just go easy and let's not just throw things around. I know we want to get the program done, but let's get things in perspective. Yeah, there ain't nobody getting involved in more mixed race relationship than our brothers and sisters living in the Western world. Come on, you know the score. Okay, so please be a bit easy when it comes to that, because a lot of our brothers and sisters are not exposed to white people at all, most part of Africa. So with
Marcus
I think we should go a bit easy.
Been rolling his grave.
Right. So hear me out. After what the brother said on the film, Carla, I couldn't actually, I know what you meant. When I first heard the first thing he said, I thought, oh, that's a bit naive. But later on, I couldn't really find anything that big. We gotta stop being so hard.
Let me say this. That's the difference between you and me. I'm a person that came from African slave descendants, you know? And the whole thing is this. When I think of the same people that used to string black kids up just for freaking stealing an apple, kill them, same people who basically oppressed us and same people who murdered us and put us on the auction block and slave us, broke our families up and everything. You know, African Americans started the only group of people that had the family reunion. That all goes back to slavery. But our families were broken up, family reunion, Yeah. So the whole thing is this: the white man has done all this to us, right? And the whole thing is this: what I always say this, right? When people try to compare slavery to colonialism, that guy talking exactly what I'm talking about.
There is a difference. There is a difference.
African has never experienced what we experienced here in captivity.
Yeah,
that's why I say that going forward, we cannot build nothing together. We need our own shit, whatever like that. And we need to build something where we can protect our interests, our values, and everything like that. Our values are, we don't consider white people Africans. That's our values. That's
what African does.
Now, somebody in South Africa or another African country may feel differently, and that's rightfully so. But to us, when we say Africa, right, we mean a black African country.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Africans, that's what we believe.
Listen to me. I don't consider Arabs African, let alone bloody white. So let's get that right.
But well, hold on. But in the video, the
problem
guy
I'm
said
trying to
whites
get
can be
to,
Africans. You know.
right? Listen,
I
the
was
problem I'm trying.
look. I was in North Africa, right? And I was basically in Morocco, right? And I talked to my Moroccans and whatnot. I'm saying I got no problem with those people. You know, they're on their own land. You know, I have no problem with that, right? What I
It's
do
not
have
their
a
own
problem
land.
with,
It's not their own
hold on,
land.
hold on. Yes,
Well,
it is.
that's
Yes,
the
it's
problem
their
for
own
you.
land.
That's not
It's
their
their
own
own
land.
land.
They invaders.
I look,
They
bro.
invaders.
I was in, yo, look, Lewis.
They
I was
are
in
invaders.
goddamn, I was in friggin' Marrakesh
Yeah.
and Casablanca. It's
Yeah.
nothing like Black Africa. Nothing.
We
That's
know
their
that.
civilization.
We know that. That's not the point we're talking.
So that's what I'm
Our
saying.
people are not
So
mainly there,
since they built the
but they're not
civilization
African.
there, they
They're not
built their
African.
civilization. I don't care what you call them. The bottom line is that area, Morocco, is theirs, whatever, like that, you know? And so the bottom line, I don't have no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is the ones coming from Europe, right? Like last night, I'm seeing this fucking redneck motherfucker here in Liberia, right? Talking this fucking stupid racist shit when that. Those are the white people I don't like. I don't like the white American, you know? I make a difference between Arabs, right? Arabs, Berbers, and other people like that, even Lebanese, I have no problem with, right? But these white Americans and Western Europeans, the fuck anybody calls them my enemy, you are my enemy. You know, you call them my friend, bro. No, those people will never be Africans to me. They'll never be one of me. Those are the enemies of black people. They're the ones that enslaved us. They're the ones that friggin' did this shit, you know, to us. You know.
Right. Thank you very
Paula,
much.
let's know about the situation in
the
Liberia.
Berbers
What's
have been
going on
there in
there?
that region of Morocco for like 6,000 years. You know, so the bottom line, say what you want. Just worry about worry about what you got. You know, you got the Congo, you got all of West Africa, you got Southern Africa, you got East Africa, and whatnot. You know, black people always sit back. All we do is sit back and worry about what somebody else got. I don't care about Europe. I don't care about America. I want to care about what we have right here. I want to see African countries develop. Really, I do. You know, I'm sick and tired of seeing countries rag and whatnot, and there's other countries. Why is it? Well, I'm dead serious. When I was in Morocco and I was in Casablanca, man, we're out downtown Casablanca, and I'm seeing a fucking light rail. You know, everything was.
You know why?
It looked like something like futuristic. You know, I was like, damn.
You know why? They stuck to their monarchy. So they don't have no elections. They don't have opposition and silliness.
But the bottom line is,
hear me out.
I don't think. Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I just think. I did my show last night. I said people who are great right now were always great. People who
Thank you. They have pedigree. It's called pedigree. In many places, listen. In many places in Africa, the white people made sure that the people without pedigree stayed in power. Like Mobutu Seke Seke. That's why he's left the country without an army that can't even defend itself. This is the point we're trying to raise. You need pedigree. Okay? Pedigree from their ancestry, when you can tell they were in some type of leadership, when you educate them, they come up. The white knew all this. So they went to make sure that most of the countries in Africa that don't have, they just put any idiot in power. And that's the result of what we got now. That's why the brother mentioned, oh, we got that man, Ouattara, next door, bringing the white right there. You got this one that most of them are French-speaking countries. Why? Because they were mainly sellouts. So what you're talking about, Carla, is pedigree. Whether you like the Marrakesh people or not,
I know that. But bottom line is this. Let me say this, Lewis. I have never seen a German being passionate about saying an African could be a German. I have never seen a Chinese say, you know something, these Africans have been coming over here and whatnot. It's time to make them Chinese, you know? I never see a Japanese say, you know something, some of these people were born in Japan. You got people who are half Japanese and they're not even considered Japanese. Why is it that anybody could just claim Africa when we can give them citizenship? They couldn't become African. Why is that? Why is it so easy to become an African? Only time people reject you when you're African American. When you're Black American, but you're white.
I'll tell you why. If you ever read the annuals of some of the English soldiers, white soldiers that went there, or even the French, you will realize that most part of Africa, they didn't even pull a single shot. They just had to walk in. It's only a few places where they really met strong resistance. The Zulu, the Ashantis, the Sudan, and one or two other places. Most times, they just had to walk in. This is the reality. That
well, I'm saying that's all fine and dandy. I want to know, hold on, I want to know why is it that I see, let me finish playing this video, you know?
Let's finish the point. We got a couple of good points. We get back to your video. We got a couple of good points we need to answer here because we're going to the root cause of the problem of the naivety of the African. Okay? It's a very famous saying. We hate in here. You guys play American football. We play soccer here. I was a semi-pro soccer for a while, a player footballer for a while. And when I used to get frustrated at some of the players, when they used to come on the World Cup scene, when they had a chance to win big competition and bring publicity and money to themselves, they would get stopped. They would start playing it like a game. No, for the white man, it's not a game. Right? And we play the politics and everything like it's a game because we see the world.
I must say this. See, like I said, if this philosophy goes on and it says like it's not a good look, Ghana, I giving white people citizenship like
right.
that.
Now, what was that? Someone said that the Ghana government was begging for. I haven't heard no Ghana government begging.
No, it was. I saw it. It was Anthony Blinken. I think he was a national secretary of Homeland Security. I don't know what
Secretary
he was. Right?
of the state secretary.
Okay. Well, anyway, was basically sitting there saying that for a price, he could keep an eye on Burkina Faso, and they're looking.
No. Listen. You guys got to stop. You guys got to stop coming on here. Listen. Shut up, bro. You didn't see no. I saw the video myself, and it's not like you said it.
We saw the video.
You just coming on here because you hate Ghana. Stop hating on Ghana. Okay, let's play the video.
It's not Ghana. It's the fact that he said that because I was
no. Listen, right? Did you see what happened when Zelensky met Trump when the video was on?
Yeah,
did you see how it became sensational? This is blood on the. This what goes on behind the closed doors when they have power talks. Ado is pro-West. He likes America. Okay, that's his policy. That's his family. They like. Right. Okay. He is concerned because the gun two man just took power in Burkina Faso. His friend who was hang on, everything. I'll explain. Let me land. His friend who everybody knew came through an election, whether it was rigged or not, was in power. This gun two man came in, took power. Abu took 50 years or so to get into power. You think he's just going to be happy that some guy next door? Hang on. You think he's going to be happy that some young man next door just came and took power or by the barrel of the gun? And now West Africa's got to go back all over again. So he's meeting him in a meeting. Hello. He's meeting him in a meeting and he's emphasizing to him that.
Why is he talking to the
hello, let me finish. You see, you throw things out there. When we come to answer you, you want to shut it off. We're not all street idiots. We all saw the video and all that. Okay? This happened about 6 months before the election. And the opposition, which is led by John Mahama, who's got no policy for Ghana, was using this and twisting it and paying people to throw it around bloody YouTube to make him like, he's selling that. No, he's pro-West. He likes America. That's why America made a lot of investment with electric power and everything in his homeland. So now he is now worried about security next door because he doesn't want the vulnerable people who ain't been to school, a lot of them live in the northern part of Ghana. He doesn't want the influence of those people coming invading into northern Ghana because there was a problem there. So he made sure that Blinken understood that is a concern, the Wagner group. And what's happened now? The Wagner group are in Burkina Faso and Russia controls Burkina Faso. Right? So don't start giving me he's selling that. Bitch, he's worrying about his security. How do you think Ghana became secure all this time to make African Americans want to come back? We secured our fucking borders. So you want to be able to sit down there and just let some idiot walk in and get pull up and then have all sorts of things.
I'm like this. Burkina Faso is a black nationalist country. The French have tried to assassinate this guy.
Listen. Hello, you don't have to educate a Ghanaian about what Burkina Faso should have been doing. We told him that from years, okay? From years. We were hoping we'd get that with Sankara, then one of his own friends betrayed him. We love what they are doing. Many of our politicians in Ghana have told people in parliament that if you politicians that we've elected don't do what the people want you to do, then when you get someone like the Burkina Faso guy or military rule, we don't mind. Sometimes some people actually feel so frustrated with the lack of progress that they will actually prefer someone coming in with a gun. We generally don't want that. So the only thing to happen is that we need presidents when they come into power to perform. But to come and say, oh, the man is a seller, what do you think? Is a school playground where someone is grassing? You need friends in high places. And if you've got terrorists next door tearing up things, they end up coming to your country, or you use all your arms fighting his people, how are you going to then concentrate and move the country forward? If you guys want to come in and say, oh, he was sending that. He said, listen, he said, well-educated man, he's one of the best presidents we had. And he's built the infrastructure to get to Ghana where it is, that we now become the biggest recipient of foreign aid. And now is the place where it's safe, where African Americans will come. It's not Burkina Faso. So what you lot coming here talking shit, talking about, oh, he's this and that. What the guy done? He's done nothing but put himself underneath fucking thing. What is it? The Russian leader. So if that's what you want, then go ahead. But we live in a real world back there. And we want good leaders like that. Not like John Mahama who's in.
You live in England.
Using that propaganda to twist people like your ear. That's a good leader that left power. That's the type of leader.
Let me finish playing this video. Let me get Kiddo on. Let me get Kiddo on after this. I would love to hear what he has to say about this. Kiddo, this video is about there's some Africans who are saying the founders of Pan-Africanism wanted white, even though the founders of Pan-Africanism started here in slavery in America. That's what Pan-Africanism started, and it spread to Africa. So he's misquoting people thinking that Homo Kenyatta is a father of Pan. Get the hell out of here, you know?
That's a joke, man.
But he was one of the on the African continent. He was one of the ones who spread it. So we gotta give him that.
It's not like we're building a colorblind society. It is part of it, but at the same time, you have to take into account history, and then you have to understand that if you say no, Arabs are not Africans. They are in Africa. How are you going to remove those who are there since the 7th century? How are you going to do it? And then they're Arabs, but they're Arabs Africans. Or in America, we have white Americans, and we have black Americans, and we have Indian Americans, and we have Jewish Americans. So that's the same thing. Same thing in Europe. The majority of Europe are, I believe so far, they're still white people. But there are blacks, and then people coming from different places. If you call that naturalization, no problem. But being an African is a person who claims Africa exclusively, and then who respect the law of the majority. And then another portion of the people who can be Africans are those whose ancestry can be traced to Africa since the beginning of times. Today we have that generation of people who say, you know what, they are what? Blacks, or they are what? Black Americans, or they are what? Americans. Some of them don't even want to see the adjective black, like in the way they identify themselves. And then there are some other ones who say that they're born here, children of or descendants of slaves, who say that they are what? Africans. And I've seen, I can give you some names. And then there are some other ones who say that they are what? African Americans. And then, so I have, as a professor, I have that conversation with my students as I teach at Lincoln University, which is a HBCU.
This
so
is
we have
one
that
of
conversation.
groups.
Yeah, this is
some say, they're African Americans because they acknowledge that
Africa
they can trace the roots to Africa. And some other ones say that because they don't have any connection with Africa, they are black Americans, so they don't claim Africa. And then some, like Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, leader of SNCC, who promoted the concept of Black Power, and who is one of the founders of the All African Eurasian People's Party. Many of the members of that movement they can be as light as that light because of ancestry or because of the heritage, but they claim to be Africans, and I've seen many of them like that. And so there's another group of people, and this conversation now is going to go a little bit deeper. They call themselves American descendants of slavery. I don't know if you heard about it. So basically, they don't want to be associated with Africa, and then they claim they fight for reparations exclusively for the descendants of slavery in the United States, and then they do not want that battle to be associated with any other battle of other immigrants, of other black people who can be coming from the Caribbean or who can be coming from Africa. So this is also another group we have to respect their understanding of life. Then I've met a couple of them. We had some conversations, but this is what they chose to do because many of them are knowledgeable. So it's like they don't. It's not like they don't know that in 1957,
I like
when
this guy.
Kwame Nkrumah became the Prime Minister of Ghana, Dr. King was at the swearing ceremony of Kwame Nkrumah. If they don't know, I know people like Cornel West, who I think was one of the keynote speakers when they did their first national convention. Cornel West knows that because he wrote about Dr. King. So King was in Ghana, 1957. W.B. Du Bois died in Ghana, and then many other Black Americans. So the story is there, but if they decide not to take that into account, that's not a battle that I'm willing to have with any person. I believe in Pan-Africanism. I am an African. Some are African American. I'm an African in America. This is what I tell people, because even when they ask people when you do the census, if you put black, I put black. But usually I don't like to say that I'm an African American, because I am not an African American. I am not an American citizen, and so I am an African in America. I know if I were an American citizen, the census will put me in the group of an African American, and I'm not. I don't claim that. You understand? So yeah. So this is what I wanted to say about the outdoors. But we believe in the unity of blacks, in the unity of Africans. Then we are doing what we can do to try and bring together those born here in the Caribbean who can trace the roots to Africa together around the vision of Pan-Africanism. And many generations before us have done that. Even if they do not want to go back to Africa, they...
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that brother saying at all. I agree with what he's saying.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with me today. What I'm going to discuss
But
with you
Colin,
is
pause it 1
a
minute,
snapshot
please.
of a very horrible...
Colin, just pause it. If I can just say, the point you made earlier on with the with South Africa, when you started off that, it was a very good lead up. If I can just say regarding that, I've made this point on other shows before, right? And I'll say it again, right? The South Africans, and I'm not bashing them, they avoided the inevitable. To me, they're gonna get a fight on their hands whether they like it or not.
Well, the whole thing is, let me ask you a question, Lewis. Let me ask you a question. You've been talking a lot. Now, South Africans basically
I've got
recently,
good things to say. That's why
the highest level of government said, if you Afrikaners are not happy, you could leave, go to the United States, take your office. They said that.
Yeah,
South
I know
Africa
that.
got a real black nationalist movement. And
Trump,
also, they got somebody who I really admired, Julius Malema. He was testifying to me live, and that guy is no joke.
Right. The problem I have is this. It's not with him. I like him. Apart from the LGBT sport, that ain't going to run in Africa. But anyway, apart from that, the problem I've got is how much percentage did he actually get in the election, Ekala? I don't know if you can find out.
He had like 10%, 12%.
Yes. He should have at least minimum 45 minimum. And he fought about 3 elections. So you're trying to tell me that the youth in South Africa do not, so that goes to show me that they are completely brainwashed. They've sold out. They love the white man. They want to pamper the white man. And they are nothing. They're the same as ADOS and FBA. Sorry. They see the white man as their gold. The little white geese that they rub, that's what they want to keep him near. Come, Mr. White Man, leave them. If that's what they want to do, leave them. The white man don't share. He's never paid for anything he has stolen. And he's going to have a hard time paying for this one. And that's why he's got his white friends in America. Trump and Elon Musk, the beneficiary of racism in South Africa, and the PayPal group, and many other white South Africans who legitimize their ill-gotten gains, now going to use that and weaponize it and come against them black people. You watch. Elon Musk owns automatron robots, humanoid robots. God knows what he's going to do, and when he advances them more and unleashes them to make up the numbers against
Okay, why do we like? Wait, hold on. Let me just say this, brother. Why do we like we make these big boogeyman out of like fucking because he
boogeyman,
you know
my friend,
he has a company.
He's the richest man on earth,
We make these big boogeyman out of fucking Elon Musk, and we should be afraid of Elon Musk, and we need to be afraid of what they're gonna
because
do.
he's a fucking
It's
racist.
ridiculous,
That's why,
man. It's ridiculous.
Right? You're ridiculous. You don't know what the white man is after all this time. Look how they've weaponized a few percentage they've got, and look at the threat they're
I'm
making
not
to South
afraid of the
Africa.
white man. Okay, I don't care what the white man do. I'm not afraid of him.
Listen.
I already know
Right
what he's
now,
gonna do before he does it.
Bro, he's not. You don't have a land for him to threaten you, so you are not a problem to him. But the people in South Africa, when push comes to shove, now this is the problem they got in hand because they did not fight the white man on the battlefield the way the Zimbabweans did. That's the decision they make. Okay,
I
Elon Musk ain't
disagree
your
with you
friend, my friend.
on
I
a
know
lot
you
of
didn't
things.
want democracy, nor did I. But Elon Musk ain't your friend. I know a racist white man when I see one.
Let me say this. Okay, let me say this. Let me say this. Okay,
Wait. Lewis.
let me say that.
Go
I
ahead, bro.
disagree with you on a lot of things, but you're right on South Africa. They should
Thank
have
you very
fought.
much. Thank
They
you,
should
brother.
have fought. And now they put that problem behind. Now it's come back.
Thank
You
you.
can't
And
have a fifth
thank you.
column in your country. You can't
Thank you.
have that. Those
Thank you.
white people are
Don't
a
worry.
problem in their country.
And they've never
they have to
shared
get rid of them.
anything. They've never shared with anybody. Listen, these people have annihilated the Australian man, black Australian, off the face of the earth. The Tasmanian was wiped out by the English army. Doesn't exist. They've got control of every part of the world, apart from maybe China and other places, and they've never shared. And to this day, despite the black people having the Bible in their hand, and with brilliant people teaching the Bible, such as the IUIC Church, Bishop Nathaniel, people still don't see who this man is. He dropped bombs twice. He don't give a damn.
Let me say this. Let me say this. Let me just say, bro. We see as Black Americans, and I'm gonna just say this from a Black American perspective.
You're brainwashed too.
Brother, I'm not done. I'm not. You gotta let me finish. Stop talking over me. 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 See, you guys really fear the white man. We don't because we
know what he's about.
You know what I mean? We've experienced the worst of their brutality. Okay, they've lynched us. They burnt our towns down. They came after our women. They came after our children and stuff. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing you can tell me about Elon Musk that's gonna make me be afraid of Elon Musk because I've already been through the worst.
That's all.
Okay, my people have already been through the worst of what these people are capable of. All right, so you know that's what you don't understand. It's like you feel like you feel like, oh, we got to be afraid of what they're gonna do, and they're gonna do this. Look, they used to experiment on us, bro. They injected syphilis, bro. They injected syphilis into us and experimented on us. Okay. We're not afraid of Elon Musk. We already know what these motherfuckers. All we're gonna do is we're just gonna study what he does, and we're gonna expose him. That's it. That's all we have to do. We don't have to run around in fear and they're gonna drop a bomb on nigga. We don't care about nobody dropping no bomb. They already dropped bombs on us. You know, go look at Tulsa, Rosewood. Okay. You know what I mean? It's just all this fear. I don't rock with all this fear and all this. Oh, he has robots. Well, guess what? Oh, Elon Musk had robots. Well, guess what? Niggas gonna be stealing those robots. They're gonna be breaking them down, selling the parts. Okay, you know what I mean? We don't care about him having no robots.
We'll see.
Hello, let somebody else speak, please. Can I please?
Okay.
Yeah, let
You know,
somebody.
you know.
Hello, can somebody else speak, please? Let me just say this. I will talk about South Africa. I will talk about.
Oh yeah, okay. So let's get back to the topic. South
I'll
Africa.
touch about South
And my
Africa. I'll
whole
touch
thing
about.
is, Kidola, I said my thesis is, I said it wasn't just a black mess. So I think white people, even though there's a lot of white people down there that rocking with this multiracial society, which was success. That's what they wanted.
Kala,
South Africa was never a black nationalist country. You know, no one said that. You know.
Kala, what you have to understand is South Africa. We have to be very, very clear about this. The elite of South Africans that formed ANC, they were the only one that saw the outside world.
Yeah.
The real black South Africans in South Africa never see themselves even as part of Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
So if you ask them, are you an African? They will tell you no. They will point to Zimbabwe as an African. So how do you deal with people? Actually, that word African is strange to them. You see, Africa generally, when they use it against the dark sub-Saharan people, they use it to sabotage the sub-Saharan black skin. That's why they brought the Arabs as part of the continent of Africa, a part of the group to join the black Africans. You see, when they form so-called AU, which the white people create so that they can use to sabotage the black people, they know they're very, very aggressive in the ruling of them in that section of West Africa and Congo, and these are the real far more aggressive black people on earth. You understand me? Far more black people on earth. So when they form this AU, the Arabs against the black skin, the Ethiopians against the black skin. You understand me? They now use it to form organization, which Kuruma might be blamed in part of it also, because they went to put, because when Haile Selassie said, oh, let's put it there, because Haile Selassie not like he loved the dark skin. Well, he did trust the white skin.
I think you got a complex. I think you got a color complex with yourself, bro.
Okay. So hold on. So,
you're color conscious about yourself, bro.
Okay, see. So the Ethiopians, they trust the white people, but also they have love for the black people. I'm talking about Haile Selassie now, one of the most corrupt leader on earth. You understand me? So they form organization. They know it will never be united. There's nothing unity about them at all together. You understand me? So that's how the whole thing died. If they would have formed West Africa and the Congo Basin together.
Yeah, the Casablanca group. They should have gone with the Casablanca group.
They would have formed West African and the Congo Basin as form of a unity organization. Let me tell you the truth. Let's say we go to South Africa. Let's go towards that territory now. Zimbabwe is the only territory that actually fought and won their independence. The southern part of Africa, we talk about Shaka Zulu. Nobody ever know what actually happened to Shaka Zulu, really. You understand me? So ever since that territory called South Africa be created, even when they joined it to fought their Angolas, you understand me?
Nigeria never fought for its independence, but they did fight Biafra against their independence,
See, let me tell you one thing, Kara. You're making a mistake. South Africa black would prefer to deal with the bull than deal with evil.
Yeah, but hold on. Let me say this, man. You don't remember back in the 80s, South Africa had the spirit of nation of the ANC. They had guerrilla groups and armies all over that.
There's nothing like guerrilla groups.
They never had no success with that guerrilla.
That was the arm wing of the ANC.
Kala. There's nothing like guerrilla. Kala. There's nothing like guerrilla group in South Africa. You can say the Soviet Union were trying to teach them.
So how did South Africa?
See, they all run away. They all run away. The
ANC had an army that was training in Zambia. It had bases in Zambia.
They all run away. They all run away. They all run away to other countries. They were never there like that.
It was Mandela themselves. The only reason why they came to peace because
the black South Africans about to go to war, and they said,
No,
"Okay, let's
listen,
have
listen,
elections."
listen.
Black Africa
It was
going
the
to
rest of the
war.
world, the black world.
There's nothing
Every
like Black
army,
Africa going to war. There's nothing
yeah.
like the southern part of Africans are a little bit dozer.
Thank you.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
You see, right. You don't know the
I
reality
don't
of
think
Africa
so, bro.
yet, Carla.
I don't
You
think
don't know the
so.
reality of Africa yet. Some of our
Angola
people,
fought a war. Angola fought a war against South
Kala,
Africa.
Kala, Kala.
Angola fought a friggin' 30-year war. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
because you know what? Because Angolas are different. You understand? The
Angola, same thing
Angolas
in
are
South
different from.
Africa. South Africa fought the same war. You know, black South Africans were in Zimbabwe.
my
It's
friend,
never there, Kala. Let me just tell the truth, Kala. The truth of the matter is, a black South Africa would prefer the bull, the white man,
than you.
Than the fellow that's somebody
Look,
that.
bro, there's so many black people from America in South Africa, kiddo. Sit down. They don't like you,
Look,
Nigerians.
Kala,
But
the
we're over
problem
there. Black America is like freaking celebrities
the
in
problem
South
you
Africa.
also have is in America. It's also like that.
No, we don't have that in America. Look.
Kala,
I don't know where you get it from, but black people in America are on top.
Kala, the problem is also in United States like that. In United States,
look.
there's
My
a
brother
group
Mark
beef
Blanton,
now, right? No, Kala, hold on. There's a group.
You know how many black
beef
people in
formed
America
now.
live in South Africa right now? Do you know how many people in South Africa right now? They're basically, you never hear reports of black South Africans having problems. Black Americans having
Kala,
problems with South Africa.
we've seen similar pattern in United States. A group called FBA or ADOS.
Yeah, but that group is online, kiddo. That group is
They hate to
online.
be recognized. They hate to be recognized as
That group is
Africans.
online,
You
kiddo.
understand
That
me?
group don't exist, man. You know,
Kala,
that group
they
is
hate to be
online.
recognized as Africans. You understand me?
Carla, if
That
you
group,
put a plane,
that group is online, man. That's
if
not a freaking real
if you put a plane out there tomorrow, and you say we've got African ready, okay, free flight for you, you watch how many people will get on there, or the percentage of blacks. You're lucky to
Probably
get
not
5
that many.
people.
Probably not
You
that
know
many.
that.
It probably take years, decades. You have to sell the idea, you know. You don't just uproot from 400 years of the country. You gotta take some. It's gonna take some time. It will happen, you know.
Kala, we just have to accept that in the terms of black, darker skin, we're all divided. That for us to form a unity will be very, very difficult. But one thing that I understand, that one day, if you have to manage the South Africans out, because you can never regroup those ones as blacks anymore, you have to include the Malawis and the Angolas and the Zimbabwe's. These are the
real black ones.
these are the real sub-Sahara people that you'll be dealing with.
Check this out. Hold
South
on,
Africa blacks,
It's the same thing.
is
Hold on, kiddo. It's the same thing all over Africa, right? You got large numbers of people who are displaced, who are going into people's countries, draining resources and everything. Angolans tell me they got a problem with Congolese. Just that they're dealing with it, but they got tens of thousands of Congolese that are straining their resources when not.
but are they killing them? Are they killing them? Are they killing them? Is South Africa black? Hold on, Kala. Is South Africa black will take glory? Is South Africa black will take glory of killing another black man? You understand me? We'll be happy. But when they were rioting, a black South Africa will not both go to the India quarters.
No, he will never even kill one white man. Never saw one white man being shot.
You know, so you have to understand. You have to understand is the passion, because they don't see themselves as a fellow darker skin. That's why they could just kill them with stone, kill them with chop them up, and be very happy. We kill them. We kill them. We're going to kill you Africans. We're going to kill you Africans. You understand me? I've never seen whereby a darker skin people are taking glory.
No, never.
After the South Africans, you go to the FBA and the ADOS. These are this group of people that somehow look like Smoke Robinson and Diana Ross kind of skin color.
You know what? Ain't nobody fucking.
These are
the brown paper tip. The brown paper tip. Come on, Carla. You know that brown paper tip.
That's your insecurity. You
Listen,
know,
not about insecurity.
There's only a few percentage of any nation in.
We just use your eye to be looking at people sometime. Okay. We just look at people. Okay, which one is FBA? Which are ADOS among them?
Yeah, because these are people. I keep telling you, though, you don't listen. These are people that are online trolls who have nothing.
No, it's more than that. It's more than that.
Not in real life. They're not in real life.
It's more than that. It's more than
No,
that.
it's not. Okay, I don't know my own people, right? I'm living in Black
Well,
America.
we say
I've
that,
never
and
seen
you
anybody in
should
real
give
life.
us the
I have
same
never
answer.
seen anybody.
We're
Look, I have
telling you
never.
that.
Look, I have.
We're telling you that, and
Maybe you because
you come across
hold on,
you
maybe
back to us with the same thing.
maybe because you're a victim of it, I guess, But
Huh?
the bottom
No,
line is,
no.
I
He's
don't know
telling
anybody
you the
sitting around talking
reality
about
of the.
Africans all
He's
day.
telling you about the reality of what's on the ground in Africa, all right? And you're not taking notice of it, all right? A lot of the people that you want to rescue don't want to be rescued. Us, the great.
I'm not trying to rescue anybody. I'm over in Liberia right now, enjoying my best life, man. So
Right.
I'm doing what I need to be doing.
Right. I know, but what
I'm
I'm
in
saying,
Africa
Carla,
right now.
is those of us who are real Pan-Africans, we are the minority in most cases.
Well, the bottom line, I don't know if I even consider myself. I'm a black nationalist. I don't know if I'm a Pan-Africanist because if the Pan-African move means that I got to accept LGBTQ, whites, everything.
No.
Pan-Africanist.
Who said we accept LGBTQ? Who said that?
Well, if you might as well accept whites, you might as well do that
No.
too. I heard Pan-African argue.
That's not part of what we do.
Yeah, okay, okay. Look at Jabari Lamb. Jabari Lamb. He's basically a guy that has uses my emblem for my BAIO.
Well,
And he's an open gay
okay, I
dude.
know Jabari from Sinetta TV. You mean him?
No, not him. It's another one.
Okay.
Little young guy.
The guy who I had some guy hijack your thing. He's the LGBT. Well,
Yeah.
this
So the bottom line is this.
watch out for.
And the bottom line is that and black people see a lot of black people in the Pan-African world seem like they're cool with that. And I'm about to start cutting some people off because they basically want to bring whites, gays, everybody in this movement.
Right.
No, I'm not a Pan-Africanist.
That ain't new. That ain't new.
I'm a
That was
black
happening.
nationalist.
Yep, that ain't new. That was happening from back in the day.
Well, the bottom line is this. Look, I don't rock with that shit. That's because of gays infiltrated these groups. Gays infiltrated every black institution in America.
The enemy is relentless. He's gonna come you at all
The bottom
directions.
line, yeah. So the bottom line is, I don't have time for when people say I can accept whites and everything. You can accept whites. You can accept anything. You can accept people who enslaved you. You can accept anything.
Thank you. A lot of the people on our continent, the way I see it, because you deal with the African Americans, I deal with the people on the continent back home. One of the biggest problems we've got is the education system. It has to teach exactly what we're up against. It's not teaching that because a lot of our institutions were sponsored through aid from the West. The education system that tells you don't teach about colonialism, don't teach about slavery. So now I'm glad Donald Trump is cutting all that off because now we can teach what we really want to teach. Unfortunately, the real Pan-Africans like Nkrumah were taken out of power. So from the 70s and the 80s, we didn't have the opportunity to teach what we really want to teach. Now we've got an opportunity to do that. Okay? Through films that's been made that you was exposed to, now some of our brothers and sisters, when I go back home and I tell them, now they begin to see, because the most of them don't come across white people. So when they meet a white person, they see a missionary. Now we got a lot of Mormons coming over to Ghana, and they think, oh, they're just preaching the Bible. They don't know that the racism in that thing, what they're teaching. So now when I go back home, I have to explain to them, because one of the biggest churches we see built in Ghana is a Mormon church. And our brother, I forgot his name, Isaac Hayes, was one of the people who helped push that in Ghana, because he belonged to that sect. Because they use our celebrities to get other blacks on board, and they don't really realize what's going on. And they're pushing more white Jesus. So when we go back home, this is the job we're going to do. So the majority of our people everywhere, 70% of them are gone. They don't even realize who this man. But I'm glad Trump is standing up, because he's going to show Africans around the world. He's already done that. We can't even get visa to America no more. He's already done that. Let you know what they're about. Okay? So that's all I'm going to say.
Actually, all right, let me say this. Let me say this. And Colin not even up here, but
what's Colin going?
He probably dropped off. He'll probably come back. But my whole thing is like, I feel like South Africa is y'all. I mean, y'all say, well, the South Africans should have fought the colonizer. Well, they did. I mean, the Zulus did, real hard back in the day. But the problem is the Zulus, brother. Let me finish. All right. The problem is the Zulus, they couldn't manufacture their own, rifles and bullets. So ultimately they lost. But they did
No,
fight. They
they
fought
didn't.
hard. But see, here's
They
the
did. They
thing. It's
didn't.
like, let me finish. All right, South Africa is not designed to function the same way like Zimbabwe is, where South Africa, they're gonna have that built-in Boer, demographic. However, whenever I look on Instagram and I see South Africans, I see that they're training a lot of their young people in agriculture. So in the future, they're not going to need these white farmers anymore. They need them now, but they're not going to need them in the future, because you'll have enough of these young black people in that agricultural field. They'll be able to take it over. But I think that the way that they're doing it
My
is
friend.
is the right way. It has to be gradual. Like, you got to get rid of the colonizer gradually. You can't, if you just kick them out too fast, you get, like, basically you get Zimbabwe, you get an overinflated,
My
you
friend,
got a you get
what's
a
wrong with
crashed economy,
Zimbabwe?
or you get
Listen,
Uganda under Idi
hello,
Amin,
hello.
and we don't
You
want
see,
that.
you always pick up the worst part of the denominator and then you blow it up. Zimbabweans are not doing that bad, my friend. It's the Western world that tells you that, to try and show you that you can't succeed without black white people. Okay? Uganda, last time I checked, were doing quite fine. Okay? Again, the colonizers, BBC and ABC tell you all that rubbish that you can't live without a bull crap. As it was said before, and I'll repeat it again, we would rather have freedom in poverty than servitude under subjugation. The black people in South Africa got servitude under subjugation because you don't believe you can do anything by yourself.
I don't know. I don't
This is
believe
the problem.
That's what I don't believe.
And if I could say, sorry, Carla. Go ahead. You dropped off. You know that, Carla. You know you dropped off.
Yeah, am I still on now?
Yeah, you're on now. You're back on now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I don't believe Africans believe that. I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe white Jesus, white worship is real as time.
Right. Well, this is the damage that I'm glad you're there on the continent, because you can see the damage yourself that's been done. So now going forward, that's what I don't believe all us black people are going to move at the same time. What happens in Africa is, if someone sees something being done in Liberia, and then they're fighting for the independent, and Liberia's got independent, the rest of the blacks will come over there and copy it. That's what happened when Liberia started. The rest of the African who can get there went to see it for themselves. Okay, what happens if someone brings pumping water into the village and everybody can see it? The next village next door wants pumping water. That's what happened during the independence movement. What's going to happen now? We're going to need a group of countries, a group of people who are exposed to this white system, who have the trade of how to get our country off the ground. We're going to need them to come together, right, and then build. And then those of us who are on the lower tier can come and join in as time goes on. We're not all the same on a continent. We don't all think the same, right? So for the brother who mentioned the point about the Zulus, bro, you're talking about 1850, and then you jumping straight to 1980 or something like that. You was all over the place with that joint, bro. The Zulus are different people. During the ANC fight, during the apartheid, the Zulus sold out so bad, they were the one attacking the ANC people. So you need to check.
Well, see, I know why the Zulus are like that. The reasons the Zulus, they're traditional people, that they have a conservative political party that they support, and they're just real concerned. And then a lot of them, yeah, and they did. But see, here's the thing, Carla. A lot of them, like, a lot of the Zulus are Christians too. So a lot of them, they're tied up with being Christians, and that's I understand the history and stuff like that, but I still respect the Zulus. They do have their own country, their own nation. They still have a king.
The history I respect you very much.
They still have a
but
royal
their leadership
family.
during the
And
1980s
here's the problem with the
sellout
ANC.
leadership.
All right, wait, hold on. The ANC, everybody didn't rock with the ANC because the ANC, like Mandela and them, they were all leftist. They were communist.
No,
They
90% of black
had
people,
leftist
90% of
mindsets
black
on.
people rock with
No,
them.
no, bro. Let me
90%
finish.
rock with them.
Let me finish. They had leftist mindsets on a lot of things, and everybody
So
didn't
what?
rock with
So
that.
what?
And
So
that's
what?
what
That's
the
what they
problem
needed to get
was.
them free.
That's
Let them use it.
that
We
that
don't
was
care
what the
what your
problem with the
opinion.
ANC was. So yeah, go ahead.
No. Right. That was the brainwashing of the American government giving you that. Yeah. If you could
No,
get
it's
guns
fact. It
from
was
Russia,
fact.
hang on.
Exactly, and we
If you
don't
was
tend
to get,
and we don't tend to play them same old games.
sorry.
I
Yeah,
said
I hear
exactly,
what
and
you're
we
saying,
don't
brother.
tend to play those same old games. We're the forward American thinking forward blacks. We know all the games that have been played all throughout history. We're not playing the
Thank you.
same old game.
Thank you. You see, when you're trying to get free, you don't care if you got a Kalashnikov or M16. As long as it fires, you're gonna use it. If you can get a Kalashnikov from Russia, get a gun from China, you're gonna use it to get yourself free, and that's what the Zimbabwe is done. Okay, so in those days, you remember the old Rambo film, Carla, the old Rambo film with the M16. I read later on that was really a fight against the Kalashnikov. The Kalashnikov won in the real world, but in the movie world, Rambo came and won. There was a lot of propaganda back then against the ANC because they wanted to get free from South Africa, who were sponsored by Britain and America and the racist Israel. That's why the South Africans should know what's coming for them when they went that far. If you're gonna go that far, you should be prepared to go that far with your own people. That's why I don't understand. They confuse the hell out of me. It's like they don't know exactly what they want to do. But if they decide they want to live with a white man, well, then this is what you're gonna get. The white man don't share. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, how you brothers doing on the panel?
Well, go ahead, Big Black.
Hey, yeah, I was hearing Lewis. I like some of the things he says, man. I think when he talks about just warning us, I don't like it being construed as him being scared or he's scaring us. You know, a warning is a warning. You know,
Thank you, brother.
I could warn you. I could warn you that a midget's about to bust you in the head with a bottle. That doesn't mean I'm scared of the midget, you know. But the midget is creeping behind you. So I think you want to heed that warning, right? Going back to the whole South Africa thing with Nigeria, and there's a thing though, and what's going on in African American, you know, with the African Americans, right? There's a thing about accountability, and I say this with respect, right? There's over 200 million Nigerians, right? But some Nigerians, which is more than double the population of black population of African Americans, right? But some of them they do come and right, and you know when it seems like when they're going to countries where non-blacks have the most power, there seems to be the bumping of the heads, right? And I think what you're getting is if you come to a person's country and they say that you're lazy and we do this better, you're going to have some clash, and that's something that a lot of Nigerians, they don't really look inside and see the faults that they're that they have when they do that.
They go all
Some
over
of
the
them
world.
do.
They go all over the world.
All over the
They go
world. Some of
they
them
go
do.
to
Some of them
Internet. They
do.
go, most of
Some
them
of them
do.
do.
Because
Some of them
Robert,
do, and
let
My
me
they
thing
do
is
quite
if they
blend in
say these
quite well in
things,
the end.
my thing is if they
let
say
me
these things,
say
does it
about
stop you
the
from
Nigerian.
eating?
Let me tell you something about that. Let me say this, Big Black. Let me say about our brothers in Nigeria, right? Now, the whole thing is, and this goes back to what I always say: black people and African vanity. It's called vanity. In other words, basically, I'll try to Mike Olawale. I was saying, Mike, tell me about yourself. Who are you? Who are you? He said, well, it's just about money. I said, no. We all want to get money, right? Who are you? Who are Nigerians? You know, what's in your soul? That's what I look at, right? This dude had no soul, you know? So therefore, when they go to places, right, they don't understand that a person could be perfectly fine with working at Walmart and pay his bills, put his kids through school, and be happy, you know? To Nigerian is like, well, you know, you got to be making, but no, that's not, humanity is about happiness and peace, you know?
Yeah, we
It ain't
don't.
about
We
how
get
much
too
money you got,
materialistic.
you know?
Yeah. Materialism doesn't compensate.
Materialist. So therefore, what I'm saying is, so therefore, in South Africa, the fact that they're black and they're the majority and they got a good infrastructure and stuff like that, it don't take much to please them, you know?
Yeah,
It don't
yeah.
take much to please. So when Nigerians come there, when you come from a third world country to a first world country, you got an advantage, right? One, you probably have a lower standard of living. You probably work harder and stuff like that. So immigrants always do better in countries than native born citizens, because
Yeah,
native
because the
born
natives are
citizens
comfortable.
tend to be spoiled, you know? And so therefore, when Nigerians recognize that, yo, look, we're coming here because we're working for less, we're working harder for less. These people try to move up. We're glad to take what they don't want to do, right? So of course, after a couple of years, it looks like we're thriving and they're not, you know. So therefore, we
Yeah,
said we're in a good advantage position because we're coming out from outside in. You know, we're not
yeah.
going up vertically, whatever. So therefore, instead of
I don't
understanding that
think.
and saying, you know, I'm in a elite position,
But
they'll look at
these
the
I have a little
system. They'll look at
pushback
the
on that,
system.
Carla. Carla, I have a little
They'll look at
pushback
the
on that
system
though.
and be like, these people, like, why can't they do what I'm doing? Well, they can't. Well, if you took the black South
we don't
Africans
care though.
and brought them to Nigeria and said, come back to South Africa in 10 years, they'll be doing the same thing. You know?
Let me
So
say this,
somebody
Carla,
smart
real
will.
quick. When you talk about any type of like you know, the immigrant that comes over, right, by plane, right? Usually those immigrants, they're not the lowest of the low of the country, right? So
Right.
when you can't when you compare them to like the whole of African Americans or the whole of South Africans, right? Black South Africans, that's a bad comparison because what you're doing is you're grouping the poor along with the well-to-do, and you're grouping them with the immigrants that probably most likely when they came over, before they came over, they were kind of well-to-do and they already had their drive. You know, I wouldn't think if you just grabbed a whole bunch of immigrants that were dirt poor
Oh,
on the
check it out.
street.
Check it out. Check this out. It's like this. You ask Nigerians. If I went there and went to Makoto and took a ferry boat and loaded up all the inhabitants of Makoto, slum of Makoto, Nigeria, and dumped them on Cape Town, what do you think's gonna happen? You think they'll be thriving down there? No, they'll be living in misery, poverty, shanties, open sewers, some of everything. You know.
Right. You know.
So Nigerians don't get that. You know.
Yeah. So
Kala,
again,
I
and
think,
I'll
It's
say
the
this
truth.
too.
It's the truth, Kidola.
Let me land my plane with
If
this
you bring
too.
Nigerians any place and they basically aren't already educated, the only
Kala,
Nigerians we get in the West are the people who might be
We're
exceptional.
talking
You know,
about Kala. Look, Kala, I think you
we
get
don't
it
get
wrong.
that. We don't get the average Nigerian over here.
Kala, let me tell you this. Kala, let me tell you this. When you be colonized for so long, we talk about South Africa now, right? There's a few group of South Africa that made it. There's a majority of them which owns the country. They're not
Okay,
there.
let me ask you a question. If that's the case, Kiddo, let me ask you a question. Then why don't Nigerians just stay out of the country instead of trying to
No.
compete?
Look. Stay out of the country. Hold on. See,
No, well,
that's what I
just
said.
serious. If you really believe that, then why are you going there? Why are you going there?
No, Kala. What I said is this.
So they're justified. So they're
No,
justified. They're
Kala. What I
justified
said
in
is this.
saying that you're the problem. They could attack you.
Kala. What I said is this, right? I said you possess South Africa. The South Africa see themselves as the other fellow Black Africans? No, that's what I said. I said
That's what it means.
we should not blame them
They see
because
themselves different.
they see themselves different because they never, apart from the elite that run away, that traveled out, that came to other part of Africa countries, they actually never see themselves as like Angola, as any other places. You understand me? So we cannot really blame them. You understand me? Because if you ask a Black South African, they will tell you, "Hey, you Africans, go back home. You Africans, you go back home."
I'm African American. I don't blame y'all. I don't blame any Africans. I'm African American. Been here all my life. I do not blame Africans about anything, bro. I just want that to be out there.
So the problem is, what you
Well,
saying now?
could it be partially is that and I believe you to the extent, and that extent is that the name is South Africa, right? Meaning that they're South Africans by name. So in that way, they think they're distinct.
They call them blacks call us Zionians.
The problem now.
I don't think they got a problem with the name South Africa, but the problem I've got is, like I said, I jumped off the wheel the minute I saw that when that rainbow thing came out, I never felt comfortable.
Look,
I
Louis,
hated the old flag so much.
Louis,
When
you
the
have to
rainbow
understand
came out,
Mandela was being compromised. You have to understand.
yes, he
When they
was.
free Mandela, look, when they free Mandela, the same people now, especially this guy that is in power, what did they do? They sidelined the most stubborn one among his wife.
Yes, they moved his wife away. They moved it. They demonized his wife in the Western.
Yes, so they can get what they want. If you look, the white people will always control. The white people will always control that territory called South Africa. Is their country. They dominate it in economy. They dominate it in terms of fighting power. What I mean, willing to fight with weapon. So the darker ones might be hijacking cars, doing things, might be put them in the corner there.
Where do you get all this stuff from, Kidola, man?
No. Look.
They created a colored society in that place.
They have already, yes. Their society is very organized. The black ones have nothing.
Get information.
They would have learned from other Africans coming there. If you cannot compete in the business, Kala, if you live in the country, your competition, you have no competition. They just feed you with $20 every month, right? Because you don't have. You don't know what called business competition. You don't know what called at least to compete with these people so that you can achieve at least cut part of the business for yourself. But you can't do that. But we are South Africans. These Africans are jealous for. No, the black don't live in the fourth world there. It's the white people that live in the fourth world.
When they come on here and they speak, you can tell they completely speak to other Africans like you, or you like that. I had one telling me I was about the townships, and he told me our township is better than anywhere you come from. He didn't even know where I come from. He said our township is better than anywhere you come from, and he actually meant that. I've met South Africans who think that like that way.
My bro, most Nigerians that live there told me, most Nigerians that came to South Africa told me, forget about them. They don't live nothing. Their township is a shack. Nothing's changed about nothing. And the guy speak their language. He said it's just a pity. They will tell you. Do you know who killed Lokudube? They mistake Lokudube for a Nigerian. They mistake Lokudube for a Nigerian. That's what South African guys killed Lokudube. They thought he was a Nigerian. Because they still a Nigerian people. You cannot ride. You don't want to ride Benz. You don't want to live in a better house. But you want to, when the foreigner owns something, you said, "Oh, that is mine." When the foreigner would dress, so that is my shoe. But you don't want to trade. You don't want to do competition in trading. You don't want to learn from Zimbabwe how to do business so that you can compete with these people. But all what you want to do, you have a glory of killing people. You have a glory of killing other black people. You are very, very happy. Let me tell you one thing. There's no other African country that is dark. Look, we are Ghana. We are the most competitive people on the earth. We hold each other's neck. But we intermarry with each other. We love each other. We say, "Hey, my brother, my brother." We never have glory of say, "Let me go and kill Ghana, go kill." In Nigeria, we battle about food, we battle about everything. Other West African countries doesn't behave like that. Even the Congolese doesn't behave like that. Even the Angolas that even fought war for more than 30 something don't behave like that. But this group of people, which they call the Bushmen, that's where the white people, they are the ones who have glory to kill other black of color. They want to call us to their brother.
I would say if Ghana's elite, right, the top elite were non-black, you'd probably be having the same problem with South Africa.
Listen, let me tell you something. You're right there, bro. One of our ministers, I always tell people that we got to make a big sculpture to the mosquito. They wanted to settle in West Africa, but they couldn't. But in South Africa, because it's cold there, they don't get mosquitoes and other stuff like that. So the weather favored them. So you realize they settled there in mainly East Africa for the tourism, but mainly South Africa because they still get snow there. Yeah. So we got to thank the Lord when that, like I said, I believe the Lord kept some of us and kept them away for a reason. Because had they got their claws into the minerals that's there in West Africa as well, trust me, God knows what would happen. God knows what he's doing. That's what he's
we got to be wise. I think we don't, can't just go South Africa ways. All the South Africans. I'm pretty sure there's some Pan-Africans, even some traditional Pan-Africans, right? That don't believe in the QY stuff. You think what I'm saying? And
Black.
you know,
Be Black.
and then when you,
Other
but let me just say, so when you talk about the FBA 808 movement, that's a non-black isolation movement.
I think it's CIA.
Yes, it's all about isolation. That's all about it's non-black pushed isolation movement, man.
Yep.
We gotta look beyond that.
Be Black. South Africa white. They always be in control. If you go there, they're big board from the airport to their hotels. Go to their 5-star hotel. You see all white people control this place. If you
Say that
come
one more time. Say that one more time, Ola.
If you come there as a foreigner, right? If you fly in, my friend flew all the way from Europe to South Africa. I think that was his first time. He said, bro, from the airport to their 5-star hotels is white control. Then you start seeing black people doing some,
that means nothing has really changed. Nothing has really changed.
He said they don't black people be surprised seeing you enjoying sitting there eating this kind of places, right? They'll be looking at who's this guy. You understand me? So the problem is this.
Nothing changed.
Mandela was being free because I think he was getting older. They free Mandela, right? What did they do? They gave him Elizabeth Taylor telephone number, right? To be calling Elizabeth Taylor. And they allow him to be sleeping in the Queen of Netherlands, Queen of England palaces, Denmark, and they blow his name to be hero.
Kidola, you know who was
I thought most of the Boers were poor.
Right. Well, it depends certain percentage, but the rich ones make sure that the poor ones were above all the black ones in a way. Yeah. What people forget, Kidola, is that the beers, the real rich ones who own everything in South Africa, the beers and the other big names that control the diamond and the gold mine and so on, they were the ones in the background controlling all this. They've actually admitted they've done documentaries on this, and they got Hollywood to come in and uppity them. The minute I saw, do you remember there was a documentary featuring the Mandelas? When I saw that, that's it. I put my hand on my head like that.
Yeah, and they say rich white people, there's a don't see when they say a lot of black people are coming, they will say, oh, they're coming. They take over. They have money to sponsor these things. They will turn the black South Africans against Zimbabwe, against the Malawians, against
I remember a conference in the 87, and what's his name? Mugabe. The cameras were actually in there. Mugabe was telling everybody for the whole world, Mrs. Thatcher, we need ground to air missile. This is during Abacha's time. Most African army had a garrison ready to go. That's how bad it became. They only came in the last minute when it became so bad it was making the white people look bad. Then they backed off. Okay, we forget this.
I don't forget nothing.
It was going to be war. So for us in the rest of Africa, when we see black South Africans talking down to the rest of us in Africa, we're like, this is what you guys are like? Okay.
No, because that's what I'm saying. I'm here to represent something different. I'm not here. I'm African American. I love Africans.
Look, Louis, it's only Mandela people, there's Steve Biko, and the other
the one they killed, the one called Chris Arnott.
These are the ones that saw other things. The real black Africans, they say nothing. Let's go to the FBA now and the US.
I'm AOS. I'm everything black. I'm everything.
Can you blame them? You can't blame them because when these black Americans see themselves, people that look like Smokey Robinson and Dana Ross and all this kind of group of people, they don't see themselves as Africans. They see their color as Africans. They might have might be a voice that look like Obama type of voice. Even Obama said they will see himself like African.
Well, they're not meant to be political fronts for us. They're meant to be entertainment. They're not meant to be a political front for our whole millions of people.
The majority of us are dark skinned.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Especially when you go to the South. You go right in the middle of Chicago on the South side.
Yeah,
and it's dark skin, so the whole thing again, going back to FBA and 808s, it's a non-black isolation movement. It was made by non-blacks to isolate black Americans from the rest of the diaspora. Let's look at it for what it is. We'll be a fool to go for the banana in the tailpipe trick.
Well, the thing is, Yeah, the thing is that we need to identify who we are because we've heard so many people that are not African American and don't claim African American talk shit against us. So it makes it seem like y'all have everybody who's not that has something in their mind about us that and they don't like us and hate us. So then I just want to know who.
Okay, but if that, I hear you, brother. But if that's the case, we need to go back to the drawing board because the FBA 80 ain't it. You know, they came in guns blazing, going against Pan-Africanism, talking down on Pan-Africanism, especially Tariq Nasheed when he made his fortune off of Pan-Africanism. Even on this FBA shirt, most of the people on this FBA shirt that he passes around are Pan-Africanism.
Big Black, let me tell you, let me give you my soliloquy about how it happened, right? As I recall, it was about 7 years ago now, when the movie Black Panther came out. This is when it all started, right? I mean, there was rumbling here and there and stuff like that because I had a lot of people on my Blog Talk Radio that were conservative, right? And I noticed all the people who were conservative were people who came from the islands. You know, they were like black people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And I noticed there was a pattern, but I never really said nothing, right? When I was on Blog Talk Radio, oh, we got to stop complaining about racism. There's opportunity here. When I know all the people who said that had one thing in common: they were either immigrants or had Caribbean background, something like that, right?
All right.
Okay.
Well, and the people that were most likely to talk about, oh, all white people aren't bad. Well, like there were people like that, and I never said nothing, right? Then when the movie Black Panther came out, because I was suspicious about that, but I never said nothing, right? I said, nah, it's just a coincidence, right? So anyway, when the movie Black Panther came out, and then a little while later, Beyonce did a thing called Black is King, right? The international backlash, right, particularly from black people from the UK and stuff like that, talking about African Americans are trying to be the new colonizers, stuff like that. Why are they basically? Why was Chadwick Boseman? Black Panther was a series created by black people and adopted by Stan Lee of Marvel, bought by Disney. What the hell's Africans had to do with Black Panther? You know. And then when Black Panther came, the rumbling of Africans, because that was the most Pan-African movie. The set designs, everything. They included every aspect of Africa in that movie, you know? Everything.
It takes place in Africa. Wakanda's in Africa.
But the thing is, the response that we got from Africans, they were just so full of hate. I was like...
No. Cut that. I know you're doing the show.
I'm dead serious. I'm telling you where it started.
I don't think I'm an African.
I don't even count that. But I know what you're talking about.
Then when Beyonce did that thing, Black is King, go look it up. They were talking about Beyonce's appropriating African culture. And then somebody said,
she's allowed to do that. She's a black woman. She can do that.
Yeah, but the thing is, the whole entire black Africa. I said, if that's what Africans think about, because the whole thing is we were letting Africans.
How do you know that they were even Africans? How do you know they were?
At the same time, let me say this. At the same time, Samuel Jackson made a comment in response about all the English actors playing Black American roles, and we thought, why is he talking about that? You know, but my favorite actor is David Oyelowo. Like he's a British Nigerian. That's my favorite actor. You know.
Oh, that guy. I've never really seen Michael.
He played Bass Reeves. He plays Bass Reeves, a black lawman. He's killing that role, you know.
So anyway, Colin, did you get sensitive about all of this?
What's all this divide, right? And then all of a sudden, after a while, right, just there was comments online by Africans and foreigners who talking about, oh, I don't want to go to America because I don't want to go to Black America. They began looking at Black America from the standpoint of our culture is just hood and ghetto, right? Then when we tried to embrace Africa, right, like Black Panther, when everybody was doing the Wakanda dance and everything, everybody doing the Wakanda dance. When I thought, oh man, this is all unifying over Africa, right? The backlash from Africans, right? The stuff they were saying online, backlash, and that's what FBA came from.
Collins is a sensitive Negro. I'm not a sensitive Black Negro. I don't care what nobody say, and I don't be caring about none of all of that stuff.
Some people really like this. Some people just basically said, look, and basically there were some people said, well, we're like me. I don't care what Africans think. You know, I don't really look at them that highly to be caring about what they think. Yeah, but the thing is, there's some people who basically were on the fence. They're like, man, when they hear somebody like Yvette Carnell say, "Oh, F Africans,"
right?
And
that
woman,
they
rock with
that
shit,
woman
you know?
is terrible.
I don't rock with that woman. She can't. She's not even a man. She can't even represent.
Yep, trust me. But
I know
that you don't represent the majority of African Americans because most of them that I've come across have been saved sound, and I know you're always gonna have people who are gonna hate. I've accepted it. That because of some of the role that some of our people played in history, that those who went abroad, who were forced abroad, they're gonna turn around and go like, because some of us, when I find out about slavery and everything,
me personally, I never mentioned that, right? But
yeah,
my
no,
whole
hear
thing
me
is
out,
this:
hear me
though,
out.
if we're gonna have an intelligent conversation, right?
Mhm.
I always say like this. This is why I go back to the show tonight's topic, and when I played that video about the thing, we can't agree that the one people that's why I love living coming in Liberia. I know no matter how many white people I see here, I know ain't no white person knows in a million years we got the native Liberians and American Liberians united on one thing. This is a black country. Only black
Yeah.
people. There will never be a white person in fucking given citizenship in this country. J.J. Roberts and the founders of this country will be turning in their graves. This country was carved out by God and said this is gonna be a land for the black man. That's for Liberia. So other countries, I don't know, man. It just takes the whole thing out. I
Right,
tell my
right.
friends in
I, I,
Zimbabwe,
I
oh,
I
come to. I
understand,
said,
Carla.
but
Hear
y'all
me
got
out.
white people there, man.
Right,
Same thing
Listen,
with South Africa. I can't do it, man. Now,
right,
I get
right.
Ghana. Now
Hear
I'm
me
like,
out.
damn, 300.
I,
Come on, man.
listen.
Is,
Right,
is it
listen.
anything? Is it anything for us exclusively?
Right, listen. There's plenty of land for you if your people want it,
No,
but the
I don't want.
majority
No,
of
I ain't
people
talking
ain't
about
gonna
land.
want it.
I want a
for it,
nation
bro.
of my
Exactly,
own,
bro. We're coming.
without no
You're
damn
coming.
white people.
You're
Right.
coming.
Hear
I
me
got
out.
that here.
Well,
Right.
let me just say this, Lewis, real quick. Now,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
you did have some rumblings, right, against African Americans, some. But what Tariq did, he just magnified it times
He's
100,000.
gone. He's gone. That's what I'm saying.
You
I'm
know,
looking at Tariq now. Very funny style. Ever since the day he was held to gunpoint by the FBI and they made him eat dirt in front of the whole world, that man started getting funny. And then when he got so funny, when he came to England one time, he was denied coming here. I believe might have been some black woman that might have written into the complaint to the white people who immigration probably not letting him in again. But by then his damage has already been
yeah,
done.
when he was
Right?
on this Pan-African thing, right?
Thank you. Right? He went to Zimbabwe. We was all watching. I was like, yeah, man, Tariq is there. This, and that. And the good thing with Tariq, he brought a black American to us from the street level, so we could look at it in all different shapes. Okay, so I've never been to America. I don't want to go, but I love the energy for my brothers and sisters in America.
Here's my theory. Here's my theory. I think, as the internet, bring us closer together, this and that.
Yeah.
Some non-black
This is the
hands,
battleground.
right?
This is the
Some
battleground
non-black
now.
hands, came in the mix and started trying to pit us against each other. Point blank. That's why I
And I
call
won't let it
FBA
happen, bro. I won't let it happen.
and AD.
Right.
Well, it's a non-black controlled isolation movement. Bottom line.
Listen,
That's the main goal is to isolate African Americans from the rest of the diaspora.
Thank you. And people forget this was an American policy during the early 1980s. And if you guys are familiar with the Kissinger Commission, there's a particular report called the Kissinger Commission when he was leader of America, the main not leader, what they call it, the foreign convoy for America. One of their policies, is they spell it out, is to keep Africa impoverished and supplying raw materials to the world. That was Americans were blatant. They didn't care about it if you find about it. The Europeans kept it under wrap. Okay, but the other thing they had,
the policy was called population control.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think you got it right. There was another one, Carter, when he passed away recently. President Carter, under his regime, there was information leaked that what they wanted to do is to keep Africans away politically from African Americans.
4066.
The politics of the world is to politic the black body.
Thank you. So now
the whole thing is
coming in.
Look, these things are true, but the whole thing is, bro, Lewis. That sounds good, but when I used to believe all that too, right?
No,
I
it's
understand
actually
it's true, right?
He's right. He's right. Lewis is right. Lewis is right.
When I got on Nairaland site, the Nigerian forum, and I got a chance to really hear what they thought, and I said to myself, "My God, man!" I said because they were basically mocking Marcus Garvey, Kwame Pan-African were ridiculous, and I'm saying to myself, "This is a major country in Africa talking like this," and I'm like, "That's why when people basically talk about Nigerians, how they get treated in South Africa, I have a little empathy for them because they basically, in the '90s, Now, while Black America stood with Nigeria against the Clinton administration, saying don't invade Nigeria, and Minister Farrakhan got on 60 Minutes and said, "Don't you dare talk about Nigeria. Those are our brothers. We'll straighten them out." We had basically so much goodwill towards Nigeria because Ebony Magazine did 2 full-page articles in 1990 about Nigeria and Black America linking together and stuff
We
like
gotta
that.
stop all that romanticism. What's all this romanticism?
No, but I'm saying this though. No, these are people talking to people on high level. They interviewed fellow Kuti.
I don't care. They not high level to me.
I was around it.
I don't get political, man. Once we get political, we start selling out, bro.
Oh, let me finish what I'm saying. There was no selling out. There was nothing to buy in the first place. You can't sell out.
You're talking about the philosophies of Marcus Garvey.
No, I'm just talking about the fact that I realized that the philosophy was never there in the first place.
Exactly. All this stuff is roots, bro. And you know that. You know that. I know that.
Conversations right here. You don't notice me. I never talk about this rosy-colored Pan-African. We all love each other. I know that's bullshit. It's not the case.
What it is, Pala, it's something we can work towards, but we have to have the reality. This is the reality. If you talk about a country like Nigeria, most Nigerians are not Pan-Africans. Most Nigerians
I wouldn't expect them to be.
But there are some who are. So you've got to identify which one of them that will be. And so when I'm with Nigerians, I give them a bit more time trying to work out exactly where they're from. I want to know what tribe because I know the behavior of each tribe, and that's how I'm able to work out this and that.
So we have a lot to work out within the Black diaspora. Black Americans have stuff to work out and talk amongst themselves before we even talk about Africa or anybody else. You know what I'm saying? I deal with my people first. As men, we have to talk amongst each other and get things straightened out before we deal with.
We're gonna have people that could do both.
A particular African country.
We can have people that do both, though. Because it ain't like we get all the time in the world.
Well, you got a lot of people who don't like us and got agendas and political. You got a lot of things in the suit.
Here's the thing, though.
Classism, elitism. You got a lot of agendas. We got to work things out before we let everybody in.
Let me ask you this: What Black group around the world is majority Pan-African? It's never been the majority in any group. It's never been a majority. No, the majority of African Americans, not Pan-Africanism. I'm not going to let you do that.
It starts in the shores of America. Anything that starts in the shores of America is going to belong more to Americans than it goes all across the damn continent.
The majority
of people be like that.
Most people didn't even. Most people don't even know what Pan-African. A lot of people don't even know what Pan-Africanism is in Black America.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is,
I know all these games.
What I'm saying is, in any group, whether it's in the West hemisphere or in the Eastern hemisphere, man, most groups, the Pan-Africanism always been the minority in each group, in each state of government.
Absolutely.
So let's not act like all African Americans were Pan-African. Hell, all African Americans ain't pro-Black.
Exactly. Absolutely not. That's what we have to work out, though. We got to work out the love amongst each other.
We don't have to wait till the whole majority is Pan-Africanism to start Pan-Africanism.
Yeah, but let me ask you, Big Black. Wait, Big Black. Let me ask you.
Moors, black people claim all type of stuff, all type of names. That's why I tell them don't get lost in all these names and titles.
Let me get a Dom, man.
Yeah, Big Black. Let me ask you, man. What do you mean by you say Black Americans don't have all the time in the world?
I'm talking about Black people as a whole around the globe. We don't have a lot of time. You know what I mean? We don't. Nothing's promised.
Right. That's why I try to be short with the conversations, get us to the points, and find out what we want to do as men and strike it, hit it hard. You know what I'm saying, and get out of there.
We've got to. We could see Big Black could see the moves being made by the whites. Okay, he knows it in America. He knows it in Europe. He watches. Yeah. So when he talks like that, he knows exactly. He's calculated where we've been, where we are, where we're going, and where they're going, because they're the one driving the
same calculation, bro. I got the same calculation. I've been here forever too. I know what my parents went through, my grands, and and what I went through.
Yeah,
like
it
I'm
is a
well
spiritual.
educated. We have a shared feeling that a shared ESP amongst each other.
Right.
Well, let
And I
me
tell
say
you what it
this.
is. It is a spiritual thing as well, but it depends on what your faith is. But you got to know what time it is right now. Yeah.
Yeah, let me say this. And even when the forming of the United States, when everybody, evolved in the Constitution, it was only a group of people that formed the preambles and these laws, and it didn't come from the masses.
No,
only takes a couple of people.
And they were Freemasons, right? They were Masons, right? George Washington and all of that.
Well,
Well,
that's a whole other discussion.
So we know the funny stuff they get involved with, but like I said, I believe, if it wasn't for the hand of God, us black people would have been wiped out by now. So we've got a God that's looking for us, whether you believe him or not.
Yes, indeed.
So I mean, coming from Ghana, someone who I'm an Ashanti man, but I was brought up with the teachings of the Bible. Coming here, the people who opened my ears were the West Indies, and now the African Americans, particular groups among them. So when I look at all this, I look at it and I'm like, no, these people are the people. These are our people. When it's going to unfold, our God will fight for us, but we got to come together as a nation. And I think what I'm talking about. That's what I believe. So when I join a panel like this on a Carla show, he might not have the same sort of belief. I go on a Pan-African Strike Back show, on a Dynasty Meal or other shows. I'm looking for the positive people who are getting it, who the Spirit of the Lord is speaking through. And in time, we're going to meet up because it's written that way. Okay, I just find it interesting that we're living in that time because the way them people are moving, they're getting ready to move now. How long's Trump been in? About 3 months, 2 months? Is that the thing that's about to unfold? If you don't catch it and you want to play buddy like in South Africa, you want to be the way. Good luck to you. I can't help you that way. We've been through all that. My age got gray hair now. I'm not gonna go backwards. I'm going forwards, and if you catch it, I catch it with you. We go forward. I don't care if you're an Ashanti man back home. I'll tell you if you don't feel it, we go. If you don't, I'll leave you. That's how we gotta move forward. We can't say everything on air, but we gotta think. We need like-minded people. Carla is a like-minded man. Dennis is a like-minded man. If I get the operation down the ground where I'm doing back in Ghana and up and running, hey, listen, can we do this? Can we do that?
That's why Carla's trying to do an African stand. He can see some things, and there's a plan B that that he's trying to put forth. You know what I mean? Just in case some stuff go awry.
Yeah, the African stand is
the African stand is the only thing I talk about, the only thing I want, and everything like that. All this other stuff, kumbaya stuff, don't work. Anything is we need Africans need to. What I'm gonna do right now, while I'm in Liberia, we're gonna craft up the plans to get Liberian support for an African stand. I'm gonna try to go to every country in Africa just get them to say yay and nay. Do you support this idea of an African stand? Yeah. Then we can move forward with it because that's the only way we're gonna survive in the future. You know, so the bottom line is this.
But Carla, you're not gonna have enough time to go to every country. You need to just
man. Look, I'm
you just need to get some a concentrated group of people together.
Adamus, look, you're talking to the college genesis, right? You're talking to somebody who's been studying this stuff and how to do this before you were probably born, right? Every country, Liberia, my goal is to have use when you go to a country's embassy, that's like going to every country.
Yep.
You understand? Every country, I'm trying to broker relationships with countries that are not with Liberia. I'm working with the Foreign Affairs Minister in Liberia. I'm talking around line to get Liberian diplomatic relations with several African countries that are key to us. And once that happens, then I got a base in Africa to access so many countries in Africa right here. I don't need to go to every country. As long as they got an embassy right here in Liberia, I can get access to them. You understand? So you never heard nobody think like that before, I'm the one, man. I'm the one.
Well, you definitely got the vision.
All right, well let me just say this. Wait, hold on. Let me just say this. Let me just. You should what you should do is just do what Kaizo told you. You need to buy some land.
Man, I'm not buying jack. I'm not buying. It's not about the land.
It starts with just buying land.
No, it ain't no friggin' buying
You just
land. I'm
gotta
not buying
buy some
nothing.
land
I'm not
somewhere in
buying.
Africa
I
and
am not.
start
Look, I
there.
am not giving. I am not giving no dusty Africans money. You know, nothing. You know.
Well, Carla, you
And
can't
when I
speak
get
like
it
that
done,
as
it's
a
a
diplomat
principle thing. I'm
for
not gonna buy
African.
what's already mine.
Right, you can't speak like that as a ambassador of African.
Well, I'm not
That
gonna say it
that
like that, but you
you
know,
can't
but
say it
look,
like
the same way they took Texas, they took California, same way, you know.
yeah, it's
They
different.
basically said
That's
they
a
went
mistake,
there,
bro.
occupied,
That's a
and took it, you know, same way.
that's a mistake, right? That's the
No, it's
that's the
not a
white
mistake.
man.
You know, Texas,
Yeah,
how do you
no,
think Texas got wrested away from Mexico?
right, because that's
How
the
do you think
white.
California got wrested away from
It's a
Mexico?
different
You
thing,
know,
right? It's a different thing.
So the
That
bottom
man
line,
is a
same
thief.
freaking
He's a
concept, you
thief.
know,
He
same
want to stole the
concept.
land.
You
The way you're gonna
occupy,
get it,
you build, you settle, you build. That's simple,
right?
simple as that, you know.
The
And
way you're gonna
succeed.
get it, right? The way you're gonna get it is you identify the land in Africa somewhere that you want to be, you believe is a good place. Okay, you approach the people or that might
Oh,
have
please.
ownership to that land,
That's all
and
right.
then listen, then you go and approach whether you like it or not.
I am
the
not
African
approaching
Union.
nobody, you know.
You have to. Other than that, you're not gonna work. I'm gonna tell you straight
Let
because
me tell you something. Let me tell you something, my brother. I
Uh-huh.
already got people like lined up, be like, "Oh wow, man, I heard
Good.
of it."
That's what
How do you think
I
Dr.
mean.
Arikana got into this? Me, you know. He
Okay.
got into this me. The bottom line is this:
She's
with the
all over the
powers
place
in
at the
our
moment.
hands, Black America, especially with the isolation from the United States through Donald Trump and everything, the powers in our hand, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't have to act like we're. Oh,
I
well,
think you can do a
powers in
deal
our hand,
with.
you know.
I think you can do a deal with Donald Trump. We don't want you.
I don't want to
go there
I don't want
anyway.
to deal with Donald Trump. You know, the whole thing is, I think you guys who are depending on his aid and stuff like that. I don't get
No,
no money.
we don't need his aid. We don't need his stinking
Oh yeah,
aid.
you do. Yeah, because
No,
you're
we
sitting in
don't.
England. You're sitting in
No,
England, right?
yeah, I don't need
You
his
was
aid.
on the ground. Look, your
I don't need
Lewis.
his
If
aid.
you was on the ground, you haven't eaten in 3 days in Ghana. You was
Who
like,
told you I'm
where's
not on
the
the
aid
ground?
at?
I'm on the ground, bro. I'm building a factory and I'm
No,
finishing
you're not on the
houses.
ground. You're in UK driving a bus.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
yeah.
Come on,
You know
bro.
how much that brings me? That funds what I'm gonna do in Africa.
But you're in the comfort of the UK, man. And your nice
Yeah,
electricity.
listen.
Your power didn't go
But
out once. My power went out 3 times on the show.
Right? Didn't at the beginning of the program? Didn't you show that the first African conference was held in Birmingham in the UK? Does that mean that they were running? No. You have to be somewhere to get to the place you want to be. That's how it works.
All right, yo, fellas, man. I gotta make it. And my wife is
Yeah, I got work at 8.
But I'll be
catch you
back
guys
on
later.
Sunday night because I'm going out tomorrow night. Y'all take care.
All
right, bro.
Hey, Carla, you gotta film it and show us later on, bro. Come
What?
on, man. Don't be stingy like that.
What?
You gotta film it and put it on sometime. Live.
Oh man, I'm going to a club tomorrow night, man. Shoot, man. I don't know. I might videotape it and say it.
Oh, okay, on an afternoon when you're chilling with your lady or something. Show us the nice
Well,
places
no,
down
because
there.
I haven't really. I'll do that when we get out when we move into our apartment. You know.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Give us someone that's
We'll
at
move
least
into our
people,
apartment
you know what I mean,
and
we
we
want to see.
get our furniture and stuff like that. It'll be good. You know, not
Yeah.
this hotel.
Lovely.
Anyway, y'all take care, brother.
All right, my man.